Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse episode 457. I am Peter and returning this week is Matt.
I would say the only time I ever want to be compared to Eric Bischoff is now, and I want the I'm back button, you know.
That's it.
No?
Like, I barely get that reference. I think the audience are going to not even struggle, they're just not going to get it.
That's fine. It is for you.
Oh, well, okay, very good. Yes.
I like to think I'm the Eric Bischoff to your Vince McMahon.
Don't compare me to Vince McMahon, you deranged fool. The man's a monster.
Yeah, I said what I said. Not that Pete's a monster in that thing, but he's just a monster. That's he's a movie monster. That's all.
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together, we talk about books, we compare each other to really bad criminals, apparently. But coming up on this week's show, we have Absolute Batman issue 8, Action Comics 1086, Supergirl issue 1, Green Lantern Corps issue 4, Batman and Robin 21, Aquaman 5, and Batman Dark Patterns issue 6. Plus, I did a Patreon book of American Vampire 1976 issue 8. So
peek behind the curtain, guys. I don't know if I did a roulette today now, because Pete didn't ask me what I read. And he listed Aquaman, yet I remember how he feels about Aquaman.
Uh-huh.
So when we get there, we'll see if it's a solo review or not.
You wouldn't have done that to me, Matt. You should have read that.
Yeah. Oh, I'm more worried about you doing it to me.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. So I know that you read it now. So okay, it's not going to be a solo.
All right.
Oh,
okay.
I can't wait to talk about that book with you.
You were worried about me just dipping out in that. I did that last week with Two-Face, actually. I didn't read Two-Face issue 6.
Oh, did you?
I just didn't
You didn't miss anything.
I didn't think I would have.
Did Connor read it?
No, he'd already dropped it, so.
Okay. Yeah, it is one of the most anticlimactic things that I've ever had the fortune of reading, or misfortune. But yeah, very upset when I decided that was the first book that I read last week. You know, I was like, oh, we can only go from here. Not that again, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. So, but oh, good. I can't wait to talk about Aquaman, because at least if you're going to be bad, be fun to talk about.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah.
You can carry that conversation. So yes, we also have Solicits, and let's be honest, we have a trailer to talk about as well. There's a lot going on this week in DC land.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, we'll do our Kindle rankings and whatnot, and some such and other things, whatever we do. I don't know. How was your week, Matt? I guess that's what I'm building up to.
So I went to Ventura last week. That's why I missed the show. We were on an anniversary trip where I was still sick. I had this stupid yo-yo sickness where it was going between my chest and my sinuses. And so that was fun. And then I came back and had a very busy week at work. Work doesn't care that you're still recovering because you were there for a week. So everything that you were supposed to do the week before, you now have to do. So very busy. Not good hockey playoffs. So, but at least I don't have to worry about that anymore. So I have much more times. Yeah, I have much more time to watch movies and read things, which is good. But yeah, movie watching's up, and yeah, we're good. I'm getting back into Godzilla. I'm so excited.
Oh,
going through the 80s stuff. Yeah, so I got the second one, and then I think Biollante is after that one, right?
I think Biollante is the second one.
Okay, well then I got Biollante coming up, so I am excited.
Maybe you're confusing like the slightly American retitled version of 84?
Probably, because the list I was going off of came from Wiki.
Yeah.
So it just has them listed out. So in that. So it's probably like, because I think they did the Raven Burr thing in that one too, right?
Yes. They made callbacks to the American version of the original. Yeah.
So I got Biollante next, which I am excited for, because I don't think I've ever seen. I like new monsters, right? Like seeing them, running back is kind of cool. Like I love Mothra and Rodan and Ghidorah, but one that I've never seen before, I'm hyped.
Oh, you haven't even got to Destroyer yet.
Yeah, yes, we'll get Destroyer, because I love Ghidorah. Like from the 70s era. That movie's not the best, but I love the design, and I love the fighting scenes. I think that's where we get the Godzilla jump. Isn't that one?
Oh, so, your ass. There's too many of them to remember.
Yep. So, but I do love that one, because that one is, that's Godzilla versus pollution. There's a nice message there. But yeah, so with the Supernova titling and all the talk we might be getting Gigan or Space Godzilla, I was like, I gotta jump back into these. So those are the next ones I'm gonna subject my poor wife to, is some more kaiju films.
Now, and there's a slight chance I'm wrong, but I believe it's Gigan, not Gigan.
Is it Gigan?
I think it's Gigan.
Okay. I get it's Gigan, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah. Either way, you know who I'm talking about. The cybernetic hook arm guy. You know, not you. I know you know, but
yeah, I know
the listener.
Yeah.
They know who I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think maybe you're overestimating how many of the DC Comics readers are familiar with Gigan and Hedora and Biollante.
True. I forget that not everybody's me and you, right? So, but yes, there was that title drop for the next Godzilla Kong, and I was like, oh man, again, let's get through some of these. Let me get more familiar with that, because I watched these when I was a kid, but I don't remember them. Right? They were just on TV. And I was really only tuning in for the Power Rangers S monster battles. You know, that's what I was tuning in for. So that was my week. How was your week, Pete?
That was my week. I don't know, well, my birthday was early in the week, so that was a thing.
There you go.
I'm
Everybody
old.
tell Pete happy birthday if you haven't.
Yeah, I'm closer to death, so that's
Yeah.
that's going on. Other than that, it was kind of a busy-ish week. Yeah, I mean, I didn't go to the movies this week, but it's been kind of it feels like a busy movie season, because I went a couple of times recently. Next week I'll be seeing Final Destination, Mission Impossible's like a week after that. You know, it feels like things are all, and then obviously it's building up to the event of the summer, which is Megan 2. Hold on to your vaginas, everyone. So it's all popping off at the local multiplex.
I got that trailer with my brother. We went to go see Clown in a Cornfield. We got the Megan trailer, and he hadn't seen it. He went, "Oh, they're really doing another one of these." And I really wanted to yell at, hold on to your vaginas, but he wouldn't have gotten it. So,
well, he would have done by the end of the trailer.
Yeah, but in the moment when he went, "Oh," that was when he realized what it was when the trailer started. So,
hey,
yes.
It's probably going to be better than Until Dawn. So that's something.
I almost saw it. I had a free night last night, which I ended up rewatching Predator, because it had been a while. But that was the one movie that I hadn't seen at my local theater. And I remembered how dire you thought it was. And I was like, I don't think I need to, even if it's a free showing, right? Because I'm part of the membership thing. I don't think it's worth my hour and a half, judging off of what Pete and Tim had said.
It's not the worst thing ever. It's just like such a 4 out of 10 that it's just not worth the time. I mean, written by Gary Dauberman, who's guilty of many of horror movie sins over the last decade. So,
why do I know that name?
I don't know why you know it, but he wrote a bunch of the Annabelle movies. He wrote the It movies. Just a lot of mediocre to bad horror from the last about 10 years, give or take.
Yeah, he's part of the Conjuring crew. What James Wan has unleashed upon us.
Yeah, that crew. Obviously, James Wan's pretty good, but that crew is full of terrible names. Like the guy who did the third Conjuring movie, whose name I'm forgetting, but he also did Curse of La Llorona, and he did The Nun 2, I think. He is like garbage. He's like one of the worst current directors. All of those movies are dreadful, but he keeps getting work.
3, which I like to call Tunnel Witch, because that's essentially what it amounts to.
Well, I hope you liked it, because he's doing Conjuring 4.
I haven't watched that trailer yet, but I've seen people going nuts on the internet. I'm like, did y'all not watch 3? Like, 3 was not good, guys. Like,
it's the same.
Unless you're James Wan.
It's the same with Ballerinas coming out, the John Wick spinoff, but it's directed by Len Wiseman, so I feel like there's no point in getting excited.
Yeah, you spoiled that for me, because I was like, oh man, I saw the trailer, and John Wick shows up, and it's Ana de Armas. You're like, yeah, but it's Len Wiseman, and I was like, oh, just let all the air out of my balloon.
Yeah, now
they don't tell you that in the trailer. I'll tell you that much.
What they don't say from the director of Die Hard 4 and Underworld? That doesn't come up.
No, it does not.
Yeah, I mean, they did go back because they delayed the movie a year to go back and reshoot all the action scenes to make the action good. Like that was basically something they said. So maybe the action scenes will be okay because someone else came in and directed them. But I mean, doesn't really fulfill me with hope.
Because especially even if you're not down with the later John Wick movies, I quite liked 4. The action's there because those guys know what they're doing. That's where they came from. So hearing that they had to reshoot...
4's better than 1, I'll just say it. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. But, okay.
I mean,
I've heard that some people don't like it.
The first third, the plot's a bunch of nonsense that's trying to like fix stuff that 3 did, and it clearly didn't want to keep doing any of that. But I don't care about that. The last 45 minutes of that movie, some of the best action ever done. So I am...
The stair sequence is like one of my all-time favorite things.
Yeah, I had a great time with 4. I think 3's a lot more mixed though. That entire middle section where all of a sudden he's going to the desert to find Hamanaptra, I did not enjoy that.
And where Rachel Weisz is not even there, so you don't even get that.
That's what it is though. He's getting like, go to the edge of the desert and you'll see it in the sunlight. I'm like, this is just the mummy. This is trying to find the mystical city from the mummy. This is stupid. What are we doing? Anyway.
But anyways. We saw that trailer. But look, it's not an Armis on a big screen. I'll probably be there regardless. I can put earplugs in. It's fine. You know?
Wait, what? What's the earplugs for?
Well, just if the movie's bad, I can just watch Ana Armas doing actiony things. It'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Well, on that awkward pervy note, let's move on to the first proper segment of the show, shall we? So, Kindle rankings, formerly known as the ComiXology Top 10. Let's have a look. Matt, have you got a guess for what's currently number 1 from this week's books?
Call my shot now. It's Absolute Batman.
I mean, it is.
Oh.
Number 1 and 2 last week were Absolute Superman and Absolute Martian Manhunter in that order. So
No, Martian Manhunter wasn't last week. Green Lantern was.
Whatever the other Absolute book was, it was second.
Yeah, and I know that because I haven't had time to read Green Lantern yet, so it's still sitting.
Yes. You haven't read that yet?
Not yet. I will. I'll get there. No, now you can understand why I'm mad about Two-Face. Because I started with Two-Face to finish that, and then I jumped to Absolute Superman. Although I did read JSA, and there was quite a few moments I did like on it. So I'm hoping that's turning into something I want to read more than feeling obligated to read. Anyways, what's number 2?
I'm just looking forward to you reading Absolute Green Lantern issue 2, that's all.
All right, well, you know what? Maybe when you're talking about American Vampire, I'll go through.
Okay.
That said, I need to listen to what's going on with Skinner, though, because I'm invested. My stories.
Everyone listening knows, because I said it when I talked about the book last week.
Yep.
What I'm excited about you reading in that book. There's something very specific.
To me, which might be Guy Gardner. So does Guy Gardner die again?
Who can say? Who can say?
If I have a type, Pete has a type, and sometimes they overlap. More Guy Gardner talk after this.
And Connor speculated that he's probably the first Green Lantern in the new movies because he's going to be killed early on. Like the early guy in the Suicide Squad who's there to take the hit. That's why Guy Gardner's there first. So I might see Guy Gardner die for a 4th time in like 3 years in these movies.
So if you're familiar with Nathan Fillion and James Gunn, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, yeah, so number 1 is Absolute Batman. Number 2 is One World Under Doom. Something marvelly. Number 3 is Transformers. Number 4 is Uncanny X-Men. Number 5 is Supergirl. That's not bad for a new Supergirl book. Number 6 is Invincible Universe Battle Beast issue 1. I don't know what that is, but fair enough.
Battle Beast sounds like my Lucha Libre name.
No. Number 7 is Phoenix. Number 8 is Green Lantern Corps. Number 9 is Immortal Thor. And number 10 is Exquisite Corpses issue 1, which is a Tynion the Fourth book.
Yes. It's a new one.
That's a very like very tough because like I mean there's a decent mix of Marvel and DC, but then there's like 3 non-Marvel and DC books, so it's a pretty even split in that top 10. That's kind of probably the most even top 10 we've seen in a long time. Yeah, as far as our DC stuff goes, World War V was at 12, and then Action's all the way down at 17. Then Batman and Robin's at 18, Aquaman's at 19, Dark Patterns is at 21. So, yeah, the rest of the books are down a little bit. Okay, well.
I had someone reach out, a listener, and ask if Dark Patterns is worth reading, because if they're not reading the book, they'll skip it so they don't get any spoilers. So the fact that I got to recommend Dark Patterns, I'm very happy with.
Yeah, no, Dark Patterns is very good. It's much better than the main Batman book.
Yeah, definitely. So if you're having any doubts, definitely go back, start that. It's very much worth your time, especially now there's two arcs that are wrapped up.
Yeah, for sure. So there you go. There's the Kindle rankings. And we will go on to the solicitations. These are the solicitations for August of this year. I've not really looked through these too much. I did see 1 or 2 things sort of like posted separately. I will say that for the first time, we're using the League of Comic Geeks solicitations page. So if anything is missing or there's anything weird that doesn't link up with the other sites, it's just because of that. Hopefully everything is accurate and up to date.
I will say I do like the way that they do the layout, because they have the writer, the penciler, or the artist, and then with the way that the variants lay out, you can clearly see whose variant is where.
Yeah, they're all labeled.
Right, because they have the names underneath them, which is nice, and we don't have to guess anymore. The cover's on the right most of the page, so it's very nice and clean. So hopefully, this is a trend that continues.
Aped was better than Newsarama, but I like this just purely because I don't have to cycle through all the variants before I get to the title of the book, which in some recent months you could tell I was kind of stalling to see what the next book was. So, all right, let's get into it. Batman 163 is up first. Mora Hush 2. What else is there to say? Brace yourself.
Patouche.
Indeed. And this will be the last one before the new team on Batman. And Batman's relaunching issue 1. Yeah. So Batman issue 1 will be in September, they announced previously. So we'll see what goes there, which means... I mean, I see a legacy number for Batman anyway, but it'll be another chapter into the legacy numbering by the time we get to that. Absolute Batman issue 11 is next. Bane's looking like he's had a few too many cheeseburgers on that cover.
Yep. Hey man, when you put on that much muscle, you need the protein. So I hope he's eating clean.
That looks like a lot of flab. I'm not gonna, that's might just be the artist style on the cover, but that's what it is.
Mass moves mass. Don't ever forget.
Absolute Superman issue 10. We got Absolute Wonder Woman issue 11. We got
a good cover.
Absolute Green Lantern issue 5. And then Absolute Flash issue 6. And then Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 6. So yeah, all the absolutes just kind of stacked together there. And all of them have been varying degrees of good, so no complaints to see them all continuing. Immortal Legend Batman issue 1. This is Kyle Higgins with the writer, and Matt Grimm, also writing, with artist Dan Mora and Erica Urso. Does Dan Mora not have enough books? What's going on here?
I don't know, man. Dan Mora, take a break, bud.
Take
a breath. It's okay.
I'll read the description of this one because it's new and I have no idea what it is. Humanity broke the barrier between our universe and our universe's shadow. From the void came the horrific apparitions that craved nothing but destruction. But from this terror, a legend was born, a warrior who found a way to access the energy that binds our universe and the shadow universe, transforming him into the cosmic Dark Knight. The immortal legend was named Batman. He fought to keep us safe, but then one day abandoned the war. Though he didn't disappear entirely, now they say he hunts a rogues gallery of monsters born from the shadows. I still feel like I have no idea what this is. I will
Almost like, do you remember years ago where there was the Cosmic Punisher book? This feels kind of like that. Out of continuity kind of deal.
I do not. No, that's not even ringing a
Okay.
bell. I mean, it definitely feels out of continuity. This, I mean, even the Batman on the cover of this, he's got like a full like mask, like he's got like a metal covering over where the mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
So it does look a little bit. I don't know if I want to say anime per se, but it definitely looks like it's maybe got a little bit of like a Power Rangery sort of tilt to the design.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which makes sense with Kyle Higgins. He's done a lot of Power Rangers, right?
that is true. Yeah, he's done a lot of Power Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, that's what it is. And then next up, we got Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum issue 1. So this is a new Black Label book.
Ooh.
Yeah. I will say the one downside to these solicits that I'm noticing now actually is the little section that says if it's a limited series or not.
Yeah.
That section is just not even there. It doesn't seem to be.
No, they're just throwing them all together.
Yeah. So so that's a bit of a shame. But obviously this is a limited series.
We haven't had too many Superman Black Label. So what's this about?
Have we had any?
I mean, does the Last Days of Lex Luthor count? Right?
I think that does count. I think that is a Black Label book.
Yeah, we've had that one off the top of my head. There was the one that we stopped reading where he got stuck in space. Was that a Black Label?
I don't think so. I don't think that was Black Label.
Okay. But yeah, I think Last Days of Lex Luthor is the only one that comes to mind.
Okay.
So
the team behind the critically acclaimed Ice Cream Man comes to DC to apply its singular storytelling style to none other than the Man of Steel. 4 new kryptonites have been discovered in deep space, and Superman needs to know just what exactly they will do to him, lest the colorful rocks of his home planet fall into evil hands. With Batman at Superman's side, the DC Black Label Superman event explores the consequences of each never-before-seen variety of kryptonite. You're just saying the same thing you did in the first part, but okay. So yeah, this is writer W. Maxwell Prince and artist Martin Morazzo. I have never read Ice Cream Man, so I don't have any attachment or expectations based on that. I did see some people were excited based on those names, but new to me.
That said, the spectrum on the cover is all kryptonites that we have seen.
Yeah, they're not new. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure we've seen green kryptonite before. There's a sneaking suspicion.
Green, red, gold, and blue. So
ringing a bell.
I'm curious to see what's coming up.
What does blue do again?
Blue is the it's the Bizarro one. So it hurts Bizarros, but it gives Superman extra powers.
Okay.
It makes him stronger. Yeah.
All right. Superman 29. There's gonna be the legacy number here though. That's nice at the bottom of the solicit.
Yes,
I'm fine. I'm cool with that. But yeah, this is doing some more Absolute Legion stuff. So yeah, more big, like line-wide DC sort of building going on there, which is cool. It is a nice cover as well. To be fair. Oh
man, there's a David Aja cover, who people would know from Fractions Hawkeye.
Is that I always said Aja.
Yeah, well, Aja.
I didn't, because I didn't know who you meant there until I looked at it and went, "Oh, I know who he's talking about now."
Yeah.
I was like, "Who's Aja?"
So there's Aja. Okay. Guy from Fractions Hawkeye.
I didn't realize the band that did Take On Me were doing comic book covers.
So that's cool. I mean, Fraction bringing some of his buddies over.
Action Comics 1089, more of Mark Waid's Superboy stuff, so we'll see how that goes. And then we have Superman Unlimited issue 4, so again, we're kind of on the brink of that starting, so we'll see how that is very, very soon. But that's cool.
Why is it Superman Bat, and why do I love it? On the cover.
I think you have to separate that out a bit just so people know what you're saying. Man Bat.
Yes.
Not Superman Bat. Super Man Bat.
Man Bat.
Yes.
Why? I need to know, but I am okay.
I mean, it's a cool cover. I've got to give it that, if nothing else.
Yes.
Supergirl issue 4. Obviously, we'll be talking about issue 1 a little bit later today, so look forward to that. Wonder Woman 24 up next. Yeah, more King and Sam Pierre. Nothing to be upset about. And then we got Trinity, Daughter of Wonder Woman issue 3. The miniseries that's coming from King and Belen Ortega. Of course, who did the backups earlier in the Wonder Woman run, so natural kind of spin-off there. And then we got Justice League Unlimited issue 10. So we're got more of that. Yeah, then we
Do you see that Redondo Plastic Man cover?
I do see it, yes. Where he's making like a, how do I describe this? It's like he's making like the skeleton of a building with his body. Like
a framework over the course of it looks really cool.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if Plastic Man features heavily, or if it's just Redondo just picked the characters. Like, hey, I can pick anyone. It's Justice League.
Yes, Justice League Unlimited. I am unlimited in my choices.
Yes, Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong 2 issue 3. Yep, more of that. I mean, I'm excited. I enjoyed the first one. But we can't kill Guy again, which is the only problem. But
next up, Jason Todd.
And then we got another new book, Justice League Red issue 1. So weird team on the cover here, but I'll read the solicit text before we get into that. So it's writer Saladin Ahmed, who of course has been doing a lot of Marvel stuff over the past like 5 or so years. Clayton Henry on the art. Here's the description on the book here. The Justice League has a new Spec Ops team so covert the founders can't know it exists, and its leader is the only hero who could keep the JLR off its radar. JLR? Oh, JLR, Justice League Red. Okay.
Justice League Red.
Yeah, I was like, okay, sure. Because I thought it meant keep JLU off this team's radar.
Yes.
But I get what it's saying now, but I had to think about it. Anyway, so Red Tornado is the heart and mind of the Watchtower, watching, protecting into the future, and his projection point to the apocalypse as a direct result of concentrated power of the JLU. When your Justice League ID card lights up red, Reddy needs you. Reddy, don't call him Reddy. For the fate of humanity and for yourself, because you don't want to find out what Red can do with what he knows about you. Sounds like a threat.
That sounds sinister.
Yeah. So on the cover here, we got a very interesting team on this bit. You got Red Tornado, Deadman, Power Girl. We got Simon Baz, Cyborg, and what's her face at the side?
Red Canary.
Red Canary. Thank you. I feel like every time there's a Red Canary, they change like how the mask. The mask was throwing me off because it looks. I'm like, what is this mask? But
I was just going off the jacket and the sticks.
Yeah, that's fair.
I like the concept. I always love like a B level team that's doing things. You know, I was a big fan of Outsiders back in the day. I like Secret Six, the original run. This feels a little sinister with what Red Tornado is up to. So I'm curious. I'll definitely be checking it out.
I think Ahmed, from what I've read I've not read much of his work, but I seem to think it was solid enough when I did try, like maybe his Miles Morales book or whatever. I will say the roster of the team isn't like, setting my world on fire, right? There's no one here that I'm like, oh, that's my favorite of that corner kind of thing. I think the one that I'm probably the most interested in, bizarrely, is Deadman. I think Deadman's kind of a cool, like, 5th pick, if you will. But
yeah, how does his card work, right? Because he's a ghost.
It's
so like, how does he have a card that reaches into the afterlife?
It's an astral projection card.
Okay. I also like the concept that he possesses people and makes them forget they're on the mission. You know, it's like, oh man, who do we need? Okay, I'm gonna jump into Nightwing.
Yeah,
I feel this like one.
They've put on Red Canary, right? Or it's not Red Canary. Sorry, Red Arrow. No, Red Canary.
Yes.
Wait,
no, it's Red Canary. That's why I got confused.
Which red am I talking about? Okay, right, Red Canary, and they've got Deadman who's in red. Red Tornado's red. Power Girl's got a red cape. We're kind of pushing it there.
Yep.
But Simon and Cyborg feel like there's nothing red about them. Where's the like maybe a Red Lantern could have been on the team here, or
I mean, one of the ginger speedsters. I mean, they were red anyways.
I mean, they were red, yeah. Like, it doesn't even matter which one it is.
Yeah, they were red anyways.
As long as it's one of them wearing red.
Yeah.
But I mean, which I wouldn't have said that you had to do that, except that because half the team is in red, it feels like they were trying to go for that, but didn't do it with every member. So I don't know. But anyway, I'm curious. Obviously, we'll check it out when it launches in August. But yeah, what the hell is this? Cheetah in Cheshire robbed the Justice League issue 1. What? Greg Ruckel and Nicholas Scott.
I'm never gonna shut up about this.
Greg Ruckel and Nicholas Scott. What is this?
Scott with Cheetah, and it's a heist. Let's go.
A daring heist aboard the most secure facility in DCU. Cheetah and Cheshire assemble a team of misfits and oddballs to pull off the impossible, robbing the Justice League watchtower and getting away with it. All that stands between them and pulling off the most daring heist in history are a few tiny complications, such as the most sophisticated orbital platform ever constructed, its AI-driven security system, and one other thing, the smartest and most powerful heroes in the DCU. Eisner Award winners Greg Rucka and Nicholas Scott bring you a slick, stylish heist that guarantees fun, laughs, and more than a few twists and turns. So I'm assuming this is a limited series.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I was never going to assume it was a one-shot or an ongoing, but I thought maybe if it was like a big issue, maybe a one-shot, but it's regular size, so I'm going to assume it's a 5 or 6 issue kind of thing. So Rucka's doing a DC book again? Like, how long has it been?
What was his last one?
The Lois book, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
This just sounds like they're letting him cook. So I'm here for this one.
It's exciting. I'm happy. And I'm also happy Nicholas Scott's doing art again. Art with him in particular is also like a nice combination.
Well, and also I do love seeing Cheshire. And so to see, who else they're going to have lined up here. And I'm glad it's not just, they're doing a heist, but it's not just Catwoman, right? We're expanding it a little bit. She happens to be a woman that's also a cat with Cheetah.
The cover's also pretty cool. With the sort of the claw marks ripping open the JL logo with Cheetah and Cheshire behind the opening. Yeah. Although I will point out here, as much as Matt is going vertical over this team doing a Cheetah story, keep in mind Nicholas Scott didn't do the issue that Matt always brings up from early Rebirth. That was an Evilly.
No, it wasn't. Yes, that was Boca's Evilly. However, it was alternating with the Nicola Scott.
It was, yes.
The Nicola Scott.
Well, that's why I'm pointing this out, though, because I think it would be very easy to mix this up, because she was doing Wonder Woman issues at the time, just not that one.
Right.
So.
Yes.
Okay.
Very, very excited. Love me some Barbara Ann.
Yeah, I knew about Superman Red, and I knew about whatever came up earlier. I did not know about this, though. This genuinely surprised me when I scrolled down and saw those names. So
very cool.
Yeah. Neat. All right, Detective Comics 1100 or 1100, if that's what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
This is oversized. It is a 56-page, $6 book, which has Taylor, I assume, doing the main story, but we also have stories by Dan Waters, Greg Rucka again, and Marika Tamaki. So I like all those names.
So when you read the solicit, Rucka's working with Alvaro Martinez Bueno, who also does the Nice House stuff. So like, it's not like Greg Rucka's just calling his shots right now. He called in favors.
Oh, Matt, I
hope he's okay.
I think you're missing the lead there. Like, he also used to do Detective Comics. I think that's maybe more important.
Bueno did?
Yeah, did he not do Detective when Tynan was doing it?
I don't think so.
I could have sworn.
I can't look on here.
Google it. Google Alvaro Martinez Bueno.
I'm doing it right now.
Detective Comics and see what comes up. All
right, read the rest of this while I'm doing this.
I'll read the solicit text. Okay, it does some stuff about how it's been 1,099 issues until now, but whatever. Tom Taylor and Mikel Janin joined forces once again to tell a heartfelt and action-packed story of Batman rescuing a young boy, his best friend. Greg Rucka and Alvaro Martinez Bueno team up for a tale that asks the question, was Gotham better off before Batman? And Mariko Tamaki reunites with Detective Comics collaborator Amancay Nahuelpan for a yarn that explores Bruce Wayne's world outside of the cowl and how his double life as Batman intersects with his alter ego's actions. Dan Waters and legendary artist Bill Sienkiewicz bring us a story that illustrates just how similar Batman's motivations are to the criminals he has sworn to fight against. And yeah, I mean, these all sound good. These all sound fun.
Yeah, Dan Waters and Sienkiewicz is a great combo too. Huh?
Oh, did you not make any headway on that?
No, so there is a couple, like there's one or two Detective Comics where he popped in, but nothing too long, like Detective 962, and of course he's in all these other collections, but he did more Justice League Dark, which I did not remember him doing.
No, because I knew he was on a DC book before Nice House started, because I remember already knowing who he was.
Yep. So it looks like here, so like Detective 943, 958, 959, so these might have been backups, because I don't remember the full art being there.
That may be the case.
There's not like a whole run. Yeah.
But it sprung to my mind immediately that he'd been on some detective one way or another. So
the first time I remember his name was for Nice House, so I just had assumed that's where.
No, I remembered it from before then. There is a nice Jock cover for this detective issue as well. Yep. As well as
so like the Redondo.
The Sienkiewicz cover is really nice as well, actually. Very haunting, that one.
So I haven't clicked on any of these yet. If they click, does it take you to a new window, or does it?
No, it just kind of pops up in the middle.
Okay.
And you can just click off of it again to.
Yep.
Matt's an old man when it comes to technology, everyone. Like, see before we got started, because we had to switch to Discord because Skype's shutting down, or just did shut down. Before we started, Matt sent me a message saying, I'm on the Discord. The Discord.
Also, I did that on purpose because it's funny. Okay. You know, it's funny to call things like I'm getting on the Twitter, you know.
Yeah,
so,
Nightwing 129 is next. That's still Dexter Soy, so that's still going there. Very cool. Is that a new outfit that Nightwing's got on that cover?
It looks like it looks way more armored.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just like a plot specific thing. It kind of looks like it, but we'll see. Batgirl issue 10. More of the same team we've been enjoying on the book.
We're getting dangerously close to Iron Fist, and I mean that in a good way. With Cassandra, that last issue hit so many things that I love.
Did you like that last issue?
I did.
Yeah, me and Connor were kind of lukewarm on it. We said it was the worst issue of the book so far.
Yeah, but I like what they're doing with setting up her mom. I just drew a blank on her name.
Shiva.
On Shiva. So, but again, it was hitting some of the Immortal Iron Fist type stuff with the different groups up in the mountains and them running and then, you know, training and all that stuff. And I very much like that kind of stuff. So, I mean,
I will be I will be happy when it's back to its regular storytelling. I did not like the journalist Shiva thing.
When it's more focused on Cass, it's better, of course. But I quite like that issue.
Then we got Batman and Robin 24.
We're still going, huh?
Well, it says
still got a memento.
This says it's the memento conclusion. So it's ending that arc at the very least. So we'll see. So we'll see how that goes. And then we got Batman Superman World's Finest 42. Adrian Gutierrez on the art for this one. Yeah, okay. Catwoman 78 is there. And then we got Birds of Prey 24, which is Sammy Basri on the art, who's obviously been kind of on and off the book already.
Doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. Harley Quinn 53 is there. Poison Ivy 35 is there. I'll pause so Matt can comment on any covers that he wants to highlight.
No, none of these. The Harvey one's nice. Let me click on it, make sure it's not a thumbnail thing. Yeah, the Harvey one's nice in the middle.
Okay.
Those are a little bit of graphic, kind of the vines coming out, a little weird, but yeah, no.
Yeah. Aquaman issue 8. We're still doing Dagon stuff. That's all I've got to say on that. And the New Gods issue 9. Obviously, that's been one of the highlights of the current DC landscape. Yep. So, yeah, that's cool. Flash 24. Yep. Look.
The hell is that?
The cover's kind of cool. I'll say that much.
Yeah. There's a cool Redondo one, too, where he's running across and there's panels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still no interest in going back to this run, but cool cover all the same.
No.
Green Arrow 27, so that's still ticking away. Then we got Green Lantern 26, V. Kenneth Marion on the art with Jeremy Adams on this one. So that's cool. Oh, there's a legacy number for this one. Is my legacy numbers on this right? Because I sort of did it on my own, and I don't know if they've ever officially given me a Green Lantern legacy number.
I don't think so either. That's the first time I remember seeing it.
Yeah, it's around there though. It's in the upper 500, so I think I'm close if I'm not bang on. I'll have to check that next time I've got one. Green Lantern Corps issue 7 as well, of course. Naturally, right by its side. Titans 26.
Looks like they're connecting covers on those two. So it looks like the Predator's hand, the entity for the Violet Lanterns.
Oh sure, I see it. Yeah,
is reaching across. So that's gonna look cool together. Anyways, Titan 26.
Yeah, I've got nothing to add. The title's all I was going to say on that. And then,
cool.
Yes.
Nothing. I got nothing.
Oh, I thought okay. You're dipping in and out a little bit. Oh, also, I am looking like I'm in the core of the Earth right now. The sun's decided to shine at a horrendous level.
Yeah.
Apologies, video view. I did not know. I was too busy looking over the Solicits. I'm going to lower myself. See, that looks too dim now. I don't even know what to do about that. Okay, well, I'll put it there. I'm probably going to be far too dark when it goes away, but we'll see what we can do. So yeah, Mr. Terrific Year 1 issue 4 up next. So that's one that's not started yet. GSA issue 10 is there. We got a New History of the DC Universe issue 3. This is more of that Wade book, which is not started yet. And then we got Secret 6 issue 6. And Fire and Ice when Hell freezes over 5. And then Robin and Batman, Jason Todd issue 3, which is the Jeff Lemire and Dustin Wynn book, so definitely something we'll be checking out. And then we got Batman and Robin Year 1 issue 10, which has been the best Mark Waid book of recent months. So that's still building to its conclusion. We got Batman Dark Patterns issue 9, and once again this is the finale of the arc, so again it's a 3-issue arc. I mean, we kind of expected that at this point, but it's just nice to know that he's sticking to this 3 issues per arc.
Yeah. Structure. Well, I love how on this it says case 3, right? So it lets you know. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then we got Batman Last Halloween issue 9. That's the penultimate issue of that one, I believe. And then we got Batman Gotham by Gaslight, A League for Justice issue 2. Green Lantern Dark issue 6. I swear that keeps getting more issues than I thought it was supposed to have. Because they are slightly bigger as well. It's not like they're regular size, so they definitely feel like a Black Label book. Even though they're not billed as that. They're billed as just Elseworld, I think. But still, that's interesting. It does say she's facing off against New England once and for all, so that might be the final issue. It's not saying that anywhere, but I think that's just because the Solicits here don't say that in general. So then we got DC versus Vampires World War V12, which I think is the final issue of that one. And then we got Resurrection Man Quantum Karma issue 5. We got Batman Harley Quinn issue 1 facsimile edition. Okay, that's a Paul Dini issue. Oh yeah, it'll be from the 90s, I guess. So then we got Batman Giant Size Special Edition 163, some more facsimile editions of Action 23. Then you got Teen Titans Go issue 6, and then we're into the collections here by the looks of it, because we got Supergirl Universe Ends, which is Action Comics. Oh, so this is the backups from that.
That's the backup.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will be buying this for my shelf because I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah, we figured they'd collect that on its own. Yeah, it's got the backups from Action Comics 1070 to 1081, and then the Supergirl Special issue 1, which didn't really have much to do with the rest of that story, but I guess that's got to go somewhere. So it's getting
fair
lumped with this. So fair enough. Teen Titans Together trade. Cami Garcia. So this is one of those young adult graphic novels. Same with Little Batman month 1. And then Peacemaker Presents the Vigilante Eagle double feature. So that's getting collected. And then we got Shazam Volume 4, Welcome to the Overlords, which is the Josie Campbell final arc. So cool. And then we got Justice League The Atom Project, collecting the recent miniseries. Challenges of the Unknown trade paperback, collecting that recent miniseries. Metamorpho the Element Man, collecting that recent miniseries. A lot of miniseries recently getting collected. Two-Face Trial Separation, which is what they're calling that Two-Face mini that just that just finished.
I wish that's what they had called it from the beginning.
DC Finest Supergirl Body and Soul. So this is the 1990 series. This is
the Earthbound Angel stuff from Peter David.
This is issues 1 to 18 and a couple of annuals and a special. So they did do... This is kind of weird, actually, because they did do big collections of this run. I don't know if they finished it, but they did the first 3 volumes, which did get up to about somewhere in the mid-30s. This is maybe slightly bigger than those, though, so hopefully they keep this one going so the entire run can get collected. But that's interesting. But
it's about 25 issues. So, Showcase 96, number 8, 1 through 18, Annual 1 and 2. So, yeah, about 24 issues.
Yeah, give or take. It does say here that they've listed Gary Frank as a writer. I suspect that's just a mistake, unless I'm misremembering him writing some stuff. But, is what it is.
Yeah, because it says on the solicit, astonishing reinvention of Supergirl with artists Carrie Frank and Cam Smith, featuring stories published between September 96 and February 98.
Yeah. So you got that. You got DC Finest Static Playing with Fire, which is collecting issues 1 to 15 of Static and a couple other tie-in issues. And then we got Batman The Long Halloween DC Compact Edition. Speaks for itself. You've got Crisis on Infinite Earths Absolute Edition, so that's a new printing. This has probably been printed about 5 times at this point, because it's just probably. I mean, was this the first thing they ever did an Absolute of? It might have been, because it feels like it's the one to do. There's also Birds of Prey by Gil Simone Omnibus Volume 1, so that's cool that they're collecting that in that format. That'll be at least a couple of volumes, I suspect. The main series here is issues 56 to issue 90. So I wonder if the second book would take the jump to when she did a little bit of the new volume after Brightest Day, which was a bit later.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. And then we got Green Lantern by Robert Venditti Omnibus Volume 1.
Oh, that's a hook it to my veins. That was the good stuff. Hal and Pals.
Yeah, I don't think I guess the Hal and Pals in this first one, though, does it?
Oh no, this is before the Hal and Pals. Right. Remove it from my veins. Hook it to my veins when we get to Hal and Pals.
Yeah,
this is
New 52.
This is where Venditti was first starting. Yeah.
Or, well, it depends if you still want to call it New 52 at that point, but it was late New 52. Where he sort of jumped onto Green Lantern stuff. So that's right. That. I assume Volume 2 would be when we get to the Hal and Pals stuff.
We get to that stuff.
Yeah. Spectre by John Onstrander and Tom Mandrake Omnibus Volume 1. Some interesting omnibuses getting published, I'll say that much. Jonah Hex All-Star Western Omnibus.
Hardcover, 1,064 pages. Good Lord.
Why are you acting? That's nothing compared to some of these omnibuses.
I know, but that's still a lot of pages.
1,000's
I'm
normal.
looking at these other ones. 888.
Yeah, but 1,000's still
856.
pretty normal for an omnibus, though. It's the Teen Titans by John's one, which is 1,500 pages that you can complain about. 1,000's nothing.
Oh, no, I'm not complaining. I'm like, that's a lot of All-Star Western that I want to read, but I'm not shilling out 125. I'll get them in smaller chunks if they ever do it. You know?
Batman Black and White Compendium. So that's the thing. Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes, Book 3 trade. And then you got Swamp Thing by Len Wein and Kelly Jones Deluxe Edition hardcover. So that's kind of neat. Yeah, it's a hefty 400 something pages for just the deluxe, so that's cool. And then American Vampire Book 2 trade, collecting 13 to 25 and the Survival of the Fittest miniseries. So it's just one of those big thick trades, doing big chunks of the run. Justice League by Scott Snyder and James Tynion, the 4th Omnibus, Volume 2. So, yeah, second chunk of that. It also includes the Batman Who Laughs 1 to 7. So it's and Hell Arisen 1 to 4. So, I mean, I guess that's good in a sense, but also it does add a lot of padding to.
Yes, it does.
The overall thing.
It's also Batman Who Laughs as well. The Grim Knight. So it's a lot of extraneous stuff. It's not just Justice League.
Well, yeah, but that's just a one shot. What you just said.
Well, yeah, the Grim Knight does, but there's Batman Who Laughs is 1 through 7.
I know, I said that. I said that in the initial list.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh shoot, I didn't hear you.
Yeah. But yeah. So that's that, and then there's Batman Arkham Asylum, Living Hell, the deluxe edition, which is a Dan Slott book.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, I don't know what this is either. Weird. And then there's also House of Mystery, the Bronze Age Omnibus, new printing of this. So that's actually kind of a whale that that's something that's had a second printing, to be honest. Red by Warren Ellis gets a new printing in paperback. And then you got Red Hood Outlaws Volume 5 trade, one of Connor's favorites.
Yep. Give that to Connor. You know what? It's only $14. I might gift that to him. He'll love it. This is the webtoon stuff, though. So,
yeah, Brave and the Bold, Volume 3, Demons and Dragons trade, Authority Omnibus Volume 2 hardcover. So that's a thing, and that wraps up the Solicits. That was a lot of collections this month. Jeez. All right, Solicits are done. There's a couple of interesting things in there, mainly Justice League Red, that Cheetah in Cheshire book by Rucka is kind of fascinating. And obviously that Superman Black Label book's the other new thing to kind of mention. But cool. No nasty surprises. I mean, that said though, they just have things missing when they're gone. So I often don't even notice until someone points out, hey, this wasn't there. So
like I missed a Solicit and didn't realize that Shazam was ending. Right, so when I got to the last issue, it was a bit of a shock.
I don't even think we really knew that. I don't think the Solicit even made it clear. It's just one of those things where it wasn't in the next Solicits, and then eventually realize, oh wait, 21's the last one. That's strange. So anywho, that'll wrap up the solicitations. I'm yawning here. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. I'm running on fumes. All right. Okay. So close that off. We can't get to the book straight away though, because we should probably talk about the new trailer for Superman, because the new trailer came out this week. A full 2.5 minute, 3-minute number kind of one. The teaser was promising that we got several months ago. We're 2 months from release, give or take now. This new trailer gives a little bit more of character, a bit more personality, maybe a little bit more of the plot. It still doesn't actually kind of like spell out what the plot of the movie is in terms of villains or anything like that. But it does give us a bit more of some of the topics and themes that Superman's going to be dealing with. And I thought Matt was leaving. He's just shutting the door. I thought I was going to have to sort of keep going there for like several minutes until he got back. But yeah, it gave us a little bit of like some of this idea that Superman's going to be dealing with the idea of like how people react to what he does in a political sense. Like if he goes to somewhere else on the Earth, like, and stops a war, as which is brought up in the trailer. How do the political regimes of the world react to that, and do they consider that something that Amerix has done because he's associated with that country? That's like one of the main questions that's brought up. I think the first thing that stuck out to me though, right at the start, because it starts with that scene of Lois saying, "Hey, I can interview you as Superman," and he's like, "Yeah, sure." After she turns on the recorder, he leans forward and says Miss Lane in a way that he wasn't talking in before, and it felt like his voice changed. And I was like, okay, that's a good little sign. I like that. So there's that. And the music was very good. I'll say that as well.
Look, man, as I get older, the more emotional I get, and music can set me off. Every time I've watched this trailer, once the John Williams stuff hits, I have tears running down my face. It's completely involuntary, right? But it's just, again, the power of music. And also, I'm quite enjoying some of the stuff that I'm seeing in the trailer. So that helps as well. But yeah, using the old John Williams score was very smart.
Yeah, but it's not just using it though. It's all reorchestrated. There's like new themes kind of mixed in with it. Like, you know, John Murphy, the composer. It's not just him; it's him and someone else. But like, they've done like new versions of it. In fact, one of the things that stuck out to me in this trailer is that it really stuck out when they used a little bit that did sound. It's not actually taken from the old movies, but it sounded more like the old movies. There's the moment where Superman's like hit down and the stranger helps him up, and you actually get a little as he helps him up, right? Because all the other stuff, it's using the themes, but it's using them in these very different ways, where there's electric guitars, or the drums are doing the rhythm, or whatever. It's all new kind of variations on things. But that little moment was like, oh no, every so often we'll slip in something that sounds a little more classic as well, and that kind of hit hard.
And that's the part that gets me every time too. Once that familiar spot hits, I'm like, oh man. So, but yeah, you give me the stuff you didn't like real quick first.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything that I've got to complain about. I mean, I still think it looks a bit like a TV show. So I guess that's still a complaint. You know, it has this kind of, like, I appreciate all the colors, obviously, but it does have that kind of digital TV show look to it. And the aspect ratio of doing it in 1:8:5, which is very close to 16:9, kind of adds to that, because it feels like a TV show ratio. But you know, but that was there in the teaser trailer. I'm not that fussed about that. I'm not bothered by it. If I'm into what they're doing and the characters feel right, I'm not going to be mad about that.
Yeah, no. And for the first time, when you talked about, you know, him leaning forward and saying Miss Lane, and him losing it, and she is doing the full Lois Lane questions, you know, and not giving him time to answer, and he's getting frustrated, and it builds to people who are gonna die. You know, I definitely feel like Gunn has a handle on Superman, you know, and what makes him click and tick and all that other stuff. When there's a part in the trailer where it looks like he gets knocked down and he flies up, and whatever he's facing down, we don't see, but he goes, "Hey, big guy, eyes up here." Again, that felt very classic Superman. But yeah, there's so much in the trailer that I'm like, okay, is this going to be it? Is this going to be the movie I've waited for? The Superman.
The signs are good. I think the thing for me is that it could still fall flat in the end. I mean, I think that maybe the biggest concern that anyone could maybe have right now is that there's too much stuff in it, because it looks like we're juggling Lex, we're juggling like a monster, we're juggling whatever the other villains are that have got superpowers, we're juggling these other heroes that are there as well. You know, we're juggling a lot of stuff seemingly. Now, it may all weave together perfectly. It may not be a problem, but, you know, other superhero movies in the past have made that mistake. So it remains to be seen how it's all going to work. But what I will say is that even if it falls flat in terms of like this idea of like prodding at the idea of how Superman fits into the political world, and this idea of him challenging just, you know, what right and wrong is by saying, no, I'm going to save people no matter what. Like, I like that that's being prodded. Now, I think there's a risk that how it's handled in the end might not completely work, and might ultimately feel like they had to do a bit of a cop-out at the end or something. But I think that to make this a poignant Superman movie, where it feels like it's actually addressing things in the world that need to be addressed, and like Superman kind of needs to exist in some capacity right now, I think it is right to tackle those things. It's just, it remains to be seen until we see the full movie, how well it actually tackles them. I love that we're doing it. I just don't know how it ultimately ends up.
It's and James Gunn does have a track record with maybe not some real time kind of stuff, but he does try to throw some stuff in there. We'll see how adeptly he can handle that. But again, so far most of the stuff I've seen from him, I've been pleasantly surprised with. And I would never think that that's the guy to tackle Superman. So we'll see. The scene with Pa Kent where they're talking, and then I think it ends with Ma saying, "I'll go get your boots." And then just the way that he stands up and kind of wipes his shirt, Superman. It's giving me good vibes. Like it's feeling like it's hitting the small things just in these trailers. And I still, like you hit on, still don't know what the full story is, which is good. Because I feel like nowadays trailers and marketing want to give away everything before you're seated in the theater. And they're just giving us enough. But as a longtime Superman fan, it looks like it's hitting the small things. And to me, that matters a whole lot.
Yeah. It definitely feels possible that for the first time in 45 years, we're getting just an objectively good Superman movie. Because I kind of like 3, don't get me wrong. And I kind of enjoy 4 as a bad movie. Like, I think it's entertaining to watch Nuclear Man and all that other bullshit, but they're not good movies. And certainly Returns is like, it's not good, right? 1 or 2 good scenes, but that's about it. The rest of it is ungood. And then, the less said about the Snyder era of... the
less said about the other stuff, yeah. But I just... And I don't want to compare it and stuff, but just the vibes that I get, again, as a Superman fan, it's the guy helping Superman up out of the crater versus shots from the other movies, right? Of Superman hovering over the people. It's just the dynamic's just different. And one feels right and one feels wrong, And I feel like this is more of what feels right. So, I'll
phrase it.
Less said about the last stuff, the better.
I'll phrase it in another way, Matt, just to hit this home. This might be the first good Superman movie in your lifetime.
Yeah, no, 100%.
because
100%.
Superman 2 was before either of us were born.
Yes. Yeah, and that's what I told my wife. She goes, "This is going to be the one, finally?" I said, fingers crossed. Because she's dealt with since... I remember before we were together, we were still talking when Superman Returns came out. And I remember she had messaged me and said, "Yeah, so I heard it's not good. Are you okay?" Right. So that's before we were together. And I had a lot of hope in Man of Steel, and that one left me wanting more and less said about the Justice League movies and the depiction of Superman there. So this might be the first in a lifetime, and I feel like I needs it. As a man that has a Superman tattoo, as a man that grew up watching Lois and Clark and Smallville and reading all the comics, I just want one good big screen Superman. All right, please, let me have this. I needs it. So yeah. Also, more crypto. My wife did say, "You have to promise me crypto makes it through the movie." I trust James Gunn. However, I also watched Guardians 3. Guardians 3, and there's a lot of trauma in that one. I don't trust him as much as I did. The fact that Crypto is based off of his own rescue dog, I have a good feeling. We also see Crypto punch one of the bad guys. He, flies through, hits him with a paw. I thought was pretty hilarious.
Was that a paw, or was that more of a headbutt? I don't know.
Was it? I gotta go back and watch it.
It was pretty quick.
To me, it looked like the paw. It was, yeah.
I think I assumed it was like a bite or like a quick sort of head thing, because that's what dogs do. I didn't think a punch sounds silly to me because it is still a dog.
It does. It is, but it just the way that the head goes, it looks like almost like a slap. But I'll have to go and watch the trailer and cry again. I think the chances of Crypto making it through the movie are very high. The chances of Guy Gardner making it through the movie are actually... I mean, I don't think he's necessarily going to die in this movie, but I do think that he could die before we get permanent Green Lantern characters that are going to carry their own show or movie or whatever. Do we know if the Lantern show is taking place before this? Because the fact that we have Hal and John...
No, we don't. We don't.
Knowing we're in the timeline, knowing knowing where we're at would make me feel more comfortable saying if Guy's going to make it. However, if there is one expendable lantern, the fact that they chose to go with the bowl cut makes me feel like, this might be a punchline, punch Batman kind of deal.
That's what Connor said last week. They gave him the stupid haircut because he's going to be a quick joke death.
Yeah. Or he'll get taken out. I mean, don't forget Max Lord is still in this, right? Played by Sean Gunn. Maybe there's some machinations there as well. And that leads to Guy not being a lantern or dying or whatever it is. But yeah, just him using a construct to knock people away in the way. Again, another small thing that just felt right. So yeah, and I've heard people complain about the colors and it looks like a TV and whatever. But after everything has gotten so dark, and I don't mean dark, I'm talking like color palette. I'm okay with the big bright colors. I just hope that it feels like a movie and not like a TV show. And that's the kind of risk.
I tried to make this clear before, but you've just said it that way again, so I'm going to reiterate.
Mm-hmm.
My complaint is not with the colors. It just looks like a TV show and the type of shooting style that it has that kind of bright, like, I don't know, it's hard to describe, but it looks very digital. It does not look like a cinematic visual from the way it's shot.
Right, and that's what I've seen other people kind of say, and I'm like, well, we'll have to see once we're in the theater, because I feel like the stuff with Lois and Superman in the apartment, right, when they're doing the interview, doesn't feel as bright, you know what I mean, in that kind of shooting style. That feels, maybe it's just because it's more of an intimate scene and stuff. But
that's exactly what it is. It's just obviously not every scene's going to be equally bright, but it's.
Yep.
Yeah, this is purely a filmmaking thing. This is a critique that comes more from people who talk about movies and it has got anything to do with adapting characters around like that. And it looks like a bit of a TV show and therefore looks cheaper than it otherwise would feel. Now, that won't matter. I want to make this very clear. If I care about what's going on, that won't matter that much, right? It may be a bit of a shame in some respects because, hey, it could also look like, it could look like a movie, but
right.
But
I mean, it's the same guy that he's done something super low budget like Slither, but Slither didn't look low budget, right? No, and then he's done these Guardian movies,
Yeah, but Slither was shot on film because that was just the normal thing to do at the time.
Right.
But I will say I had the same problem with Guardians 3. Guardians 3 looked more like a TV show than a movie. It just had that look to it. So
yeah. This is more of an off thing. I'll pick your brain another time about that with your filmmaking type stuff. Where do you think it's just the process has changed where TV and movies there's so much overlap? It's
just a number of things that are contributing. I mean, the main thing is that it seems like he switched to a new type of camera for Guardians 3. He seemed to like it because I think he's doing the same kind of thing for Superman, and it just looks more like it looks very high quality. Don't get me wrong. It looks like he's shooting like 8K or something stupid like that, but it looks less cinematic than other types of camera. So it is what it is. But
high hopes, man. I also, when we went and saw Thunderbolts while we were on vacation, I found a standalone movie theater. And out here in Vegas, those are far and few between anymore because everything's hooked to a mall or a casino. So we took some time with Saw Thunderbolts and I got the little teaser trailer, which I hadn't seen on the big screen yet. And it was the first time I had seen all of that footage on a big screen and everything looked great. So I think that goes for a long way too. Looking forward to seeing this trailer on the big screen eventually. But yeah, super stoked. The hopes have never been higher. Hopefully it pays off and I don't fall flat on my face like I have in the past.
Yeah, I've seen the teaser a few times at the cinema. Yeah, which notably had a few different clips versus the one that's online. So I think maybe internationally there's a few different little snippets versus the US version.
I'll have to seek that out then.
I don't know if you can...
I'm sure they're not spoilery bits.
No, it's just a couple of alternate things. Like there's like the shot of Lex in the teaser is a different shot of Lex, for example. But it's not. I mean, it's nothing that exciting, but it's just.
Gotcha.
I noticed it. I was like, hey, this is weird. Why is there different shots? But hey, it is what it is. So I don't know. I'm hopeful the movie's going to be good. It's definitely the most interested I've been in any superhero movie in a long time, like years, like lots of years. So hopefully it's good. Hopefully it feels like the start of a fresh new wave of DC movies, and but you know, hey ho.
Did you guys talk about last week how for Peacemaker season 2 they threw in I saw Hot Girl and one of the other characters? Was it terrific?
No, this is the first time. This is the first time hearing of this.
Yes. So I guess there's a Peacemaker trailer which I haven't seen yet for season 2 that I think drops in September, or October maybe. I can't remember. But yeah, there's a scene in there in the trailer with or a clip with Hot Girl and somebody else. I can't remember who. I know it's not Green Lantern because that would have been I would have watched it by now. But yeah, so it's the first time that seems like there's some crossing over of these, in a while. So cool beans.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll watch Peacemaker season 2.
Yeah. I have to restart season 1. I think I made it to episode 3, and then it just got away from us. But yeah, I think I'll go back.
Yeah, I just don't feel that strong. I mean, I liked what I saw season 1. It was entertaining enough, but I just I don't know. It might feel like work having to watch season 2 of Peacemaker. So I don't know. We'll see. But hey, anyway, let's get into the books. Well, we got a reasonable amount of them to talk about. Absolute Batman issue 8. Scott Snyder writing with Marcos Martin on the art. So this is the second half of this little Mr. Freeze 2-parter. Well, I think it's just a 2-parter anyway. But
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so this Freeze deals more in like, oh, here's like old viruses and like, microbes and stuff that have been in the ice for thousands of years, yada yada. I
respect Snyder for not officially naming him Monster Freeze. Cause that's how I've been thinking of him. Because this version of Mr. Freeze is kind of scary.
Well, to be fair, no one's called him Mr. Freeze yet either. Like
that's true. That's true. It's just Freeze.
We just know it's Mr. Freeze because that's what we know him as. But
that is true. But yeah, he's very, very monstrous in ways, and there's this lankiness to him that's very unsettling to me. And just again, I sometimes forget that Scott Snyder kind of came up in horror, right? American Vampire, and I was trying to remember what his other one was that I never read, but yeah, he still has a flair for it.
Yeah, so Freeze has got Bruce, who's now sort of like been drugged and paralyzed, and he drags him into another room, puts him into a test tube thing, and is like, "Hey, I'm going to freeze you." And basically tells him that for 30 years he's going to be in there begging for death. Like being frozen doesn't suspend you, like doesn't make you go to sleep. You're aware of all of it, so it's more like a long form of torture than it is anything else. But you're like,
that seems nightmarish.
Eventually, you'll get used to it though, and maybe like me, you'll start to love the pain. You'll love how it feels, and it's like, oh, that's very ominous. But and it's still intercutting with this confrontation between the what do we call it? Like Bruce's rogues friends. What do we call this group of 4?
Yeah, his childhood friends. They're the group.
The group. Yeah.
That's what I've just been referring to him as them.
Yeah, so the whole idea here, though, is that Wayland, and the others, but Wayland's the one who's doing all the talking, is basically sort of giving Bruce shit for this Batman stuff, because he's basically accusing Bruce of having a death wish, and he's like, hey, Matchy's always blamed himself for what happened to your dad, because he was the last kid that he came out and saved, so Matchy's feels responsible that he was, like, why he'd get killed. And he's like, hey, and you always felt responsible, Bruce, because you're the one who kind of convinced the zoo was the idea, or he like won the trip to the zoo, whatever it was. So
he won the trip with that bridge contest.
Yeah.
So he's the reason they were there.
So he's like, hey, you've always blamed yourself. Is that what this is? Is this you just like trying to put yourself in danger if you're already given up, kind of thing? And it's it's kind of this idea of like Bruce coming to terms that he's not just got a death wish, that this is more than that, that this is something, as crazy as it might be, all this stuff that he's doing, the entire main story of this is how he figures a way to fight out of this test tube, which is basically like throwing these little mini batarangs at the glass to make it crack and whatnot. So he shows up as Batman, he kicks down the door, he's pissed off, he's angry. Freeze looks very aroused, to be honest, when he sees Batman come after him.
Yes, he does.
The eyes bulge up and he's like, "Oh, Batman, what are you doing here?" And Batman has a little mini flamethrower on his glove that he shoots Freeze in the face with, and Freeze has got like fire, and I don't know. It's basically video game logic. You use fire against cold, right? That's what you do.
Right.
So, sure enough, we get a kind of a creepy fight here where Batman's cape is being used in all sorts of wonderful little weird ways, but Freeze is also very lanky and he's like jumping around and dodging it. It's all very creepy.
The panel where he puts his hand on Bruce's face from above, it's just like, ugh, it gives me the chills. No, that wasn't a pun. I didn't mean that, but yeah.
It's very much the horror movie, like the hand coming down kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then Freeze basically wakes up all his Freeze soldiers, I guess.
But these are in the storyline. These are people that paid to be frozen, right? But we know now that it sucks, right? Yeah. So you're like, oh, these are all like rich people that were paying for cryogenics, and now they're like freeze minions. They're frost zombies.
It seems like they've all went crazy. Having been frozen for however long, and they're all just kind of working for. So they all like run at Batman like they're zombies. I mean, not slow moving zombies. They're more like runner zombies. But so he's getting like attacked by all these things. As we cut back to the flashback of like him meeting the group, and they've got a big mural of Matches Malone on the wall, and all the rest of it.
In the last issue, I complained with how dark, right, all those scenes were, right, and now I want to rescind that because there was a purpose. So when we get to this point,
it's building up to this moment where you see the match hit the floor, and then finally you see all of it in full color where they're looking up at this mural, and it has a lot of impact because it's been in silhouette the entire time, this entire storyline.
And so now the fact that Matches is lighting them up, right, and they're going to use him as this, as kind of the reason to go forward, and it's kind of a new inspiration kind of for Bruce and his friends. We're going to honor the guy. It's so good.
Yeah, and then in the fight in present day, Batman chooses to escape. Like, he doesn't try and, like, he realizes he's losing, that he can't win this right now. So he runs for the hole that was made in the wall when he got hit into it, and he crashes through it, and he slides down the side of this skyscraper, and obviously does some, grappling or whatever to keep himself safe. But it's basically this idea that he made the choice to not go like if he stayed and fighted, he'd probably just be killing himself, because that's like what is happening here. He's losing.
There's that too, and the zombies want him to kill them, right? They're coming at him like they want to be put out of their misery. And
they're basically
frail.
Yeah, they're crumbling the second he touches them, and that's another issue. But I felt like, to me though, this was more about this idea of him like accepting that he has to save himself as well, because to go along with the whole death wish thing, it's not about that. Like, he will live to fight another day. He'll be tactical about it, and
it's the tactical retreat. So and sometimes that's okay.
Well,
when to pull back and when to go forward.
Yeah, but tactical retreat makes it sound like it's a really cold, like logical thing, and I don't think it is a logical. Like, I think it's meant to be like an uplifting, heartwarming moment, because it's like, no, he's going to make the right choice in these situations where he won't get himself killed because people do care about him. It's not about just
right. He's choosing life.
Yeah, he cares. I guess is what he cares about living, and that's the heartwarming part of it. So the big thing at the end though is that Waylon Jones, who I'm assuming is going to be Croc soon, gets nabbed by some baddies, and we just hear him say, "Yes, sir, he's perfect. He's a perfect specimen. Take him to Arkham." So, seemingly, all the stuff that the Joker's doing with building this Arkham and doing all these experiments, this is going to be how we get to him becoming Croc, which is going to be tragic given that he's been a good guy who's been on, like Bruce's side up until now.
Here's my thing. I think they're gonna twist things a little bit, and he's the perfect specimen. We know Bane's next, and we know Bane's huge.
Oh, you think it's gonna be Bane?
And who would be a more personal attack of Bane, right? Of breaking the bat than a friend that's been driven insane by all the drugs they're giving him. You know, preying on that. You should listen, Bruce.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprising like change if that's what they, because it says next Bane. So if they literally just, I guess in my head though, I assumed, oh, we're doing Bane next, and we won't see Wayland for like an arc,
maybe,
and he'll pop back up later as an actual Croc. But yeah, maybe he's just going to twist it so that he's now Bane. Yeah, they could do that. It's not impossible.
Yeah, because when I see him eventually, we go, he's the perfect specimen. I go, oh no. Next time we see him, he's gonna be all scaly. And then I forgot that Bane was coming. I was like,
yeah. See, I thought
possibilities there.
I thought a Croc first though, because this is very like Resident Evil. Like we're going to make mutations.
Yeah.
And so on. So I like, you know, we'll see what to do with it. I think this half of it definitely is like this two-parter definitely splits into two halves in a way where the first half was so much exposition about who Freeze was and how different he is in this world. And then the second half kind of brought the Batman side together, which is kind of about his, like, you know, psyche, and it kind of sounds like his friends are going to be kind of in on it. At least that's the vibe I got from the end of that sequence.
It feels like this is his Bat family, right? That they're going to be there for him in ways that we're used to Alfred and Nightwing and all those guys.
But in the same way that Wayland has just been captured and is probably going to become a villain against his will, are they all going to fall away one by one and become more recognizable versions of what we think of them as?
True. I mean, Harvey still has both sides of his face.
Yeah, oh yeah. So, that's a big for now.
Yeah, for now. So there's that, but yeah, no, it's again. This is that again. I felt real dumb after those complaints in the last where everything was in silhouette, and I was like, I don't know, it's kind of boring. And then when we got that scene and that reveal, I was like, oh no, this was expertly. I should not have doubted the creatives here. So very good stuff.
Yeah. No, it was a nice decision to do it. It's almost this idea of the light of matches coming down and illuminating them. Yep. Was a nice idea. So yeah. All right. What are you giving Absolute Batman?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
Probably just a straight 8 for me, but it's good. I mean, I am excited to get back to the main stuff though with the regular artist. Like I definitely am kind of looking forward to that. But that is, as far as like a 2-issue kind of a bridge little story goes, I think this was a really solid little pair of issues. So no complaints. And this Freeze definitely was cool and creepy and different than normal. So
yes,
cool. Action Comics 1086, G. Willow Wilson writing with Gavin Guidry on the art. So I was surprised to learn this was only a 2-parter when I was talking to
Me too!
Well, I found out last week because I found this out when I was talking to Connor, because the Mark Waid Superboy stuff is starting next month. Right. So seemingly, because all of the Superstars and Action Comics stuff has all been 3 issues each, barring the big long 12-issue one from Mark Waid. I just assumed this was 3, but obviously, I'm glad it was only 2 though, because it wasn't very good. But that's
it was. Man, it felt very mailed in, and I don't care about Kilgore. Like we have Cyborg Superman, they have a lot of crossover with the wanting to turn the world into machines type deal. And I was like, man, this is kind of boring. We did get orcas with cybernetics though. That was kind of cool. But who's gonna go take those? Superman's gonna go get those off of them.
It's a male. That's a male plus. I don't think the art. I don't love the art. Right. I think it's a little too like smooth faced for my taste. And then the Kilgore stuff. Like we spend a lot of this issue with Kilgore just monologuing about his plans and that this new tech world order is coming. There's a bit of a fight. Like you say, the Orcas come out with the cybernetic stuff on top. Like it's really just it really does feel like a fill-in 2-parter because there's nothing really that meaningful that comes out of it. Arguably the most
go ahead.
I was gonna say arguably the most interesting thing about it is probably the scene with Lois at the end, but even that, like, there was still some weirdness to it for me, where that final page where he's kind of hugging her while she's still standing up. Like there's something really weird about the the vibe of that page to me. Like I get what it's going for, but maybe it's just the art or something. But it just feels kind of strange. I don't know.
It does. That's when I've had a panic attack and I need somebody. That's how I had done. You know. But there was a bit of some of the stuff that G. Willow Wilson's doing in Poison Ivy about how these, how technology is speeding up the death of the world, right? Because one of Kilgore's things he wants to do is melt this ice up in the Arctic, so then there's an easier shipping lane for commerce. And if Superman just lets him do what he needs to do, right? So it's stuff that if you're reading Poison Ivy, you're kind of familiar with. He monologues a good chunk of it, and there's not a lot of action because a lot of the tension comes from Kilgore being able to know Superman's move because he studied him or whatever, right? Because he's an AI. And so Superman just kind of stands there and lets a monologue, which does not make for an exciting read.
Yeah, just even what he's monologuing about though just isn't that interesting right now. Not the idea of tackling climate change and like villains try to speed it up isn't like, I'm not saying that's a bad idea in general. I just don't think a 2-issue Kilgore story was going to be the thing that was going to set it on fire. Especially since like see if it was more thematically in the first part of it, maybe it'd have felt okay, but I certainly don't remember it being like, I mean, I know the scientists were doing stuff to do with like climate change, I think, but it wasn't like a big thing. I feel like they saved Kilgore for too late in the first part, so we had to do all of the Kilgore monologuing and what he's up to in this one, and it just kind of felt a bit of a dud.
Which is why I was shocked when it was only 2 issues, because that felt like it was paced for 3. You know?
The first one, yeah.
Because we got 2 out, so... But yeah, like, again, the orcas that come up through the ice, I mean, that part was pretty cool. The rest of it, though, I'm just like, the scientist pointing out that Clark always misses Superman, I thought was kind of funny. But that's just typical Superman storytelling. So, yeah, I wish it was better. And, I'm excited for the Superboy stuff. I like that type of Superman for Wade. So, but I'm kind of glad the Superstars thing is over.
Yeah.
As well. I like some consistency back for action.
Yeah, I was never in love with the idea of the Superstars rotating teams. Like, I'd rather just have a run. I'm not, like, thrilled about the Superboy stuff because it's not my thing, really. But I at least hope that Wade's got, like, an overall thing that he wants to do. If it feels like his World's Finest book, though, and it's just throwing different things at young Superboy, I'm probably going to get frustrated with it. But we'll see how it is. We can't judge that until it comes. Yeah, I really don't have much to say about this. It was just kind of an book for me. What are you giving Action Comics, Matt?
Shoot. Let's give this a 5.5.
Yeah, I was thinking 5. It was such a mid thing to me. So there you go. Supergirl issue 1, legacy number 270. Sophie Campbell writing and on art on this book. Also worth mentioning as a start of this is also a Patreon book for me, funnily enough. Meaning that I'm not allowed to drop it even if I hate it. Now, do I hate it? No, I don't hate it. Luckily, I don't. No. But
do I think it could be better? We'll see. It's one I'm not familiar with Sophie Campbell's writing style. Because for a hot second I thought this was Josie Campbell, and I got very excited. Right? Because I just saw Campbell Supergirl. So
wait, when did we definitely talked about it being Sophie Campbell in the Solicits? So did you just forget that, or what?
Yes, okay. I just forgot. I saw Campbell on the cover, and I went, "Oh, sweet!" And I was like, "Oh, wait, this is not okay." There's just some stylistic things I don't dig. Like, I'm not a fan of thought bubbles. I much prefer narration boxes. And there's some characterization kind of things. However, I'm open to it because I do like Kara's characterization. And I'm very, let's say, curious about the character that shows up at the end.
Yeah, I mostly liked it, actually. I think it is a little wordy in places because of the dialogue style that she's got for Kara and her thought bubbles. But it feels kind of like... It feels kind of suitable in the sense that it feels like a young person talking too much kind of way. Not that Kara... I mean, is Kara might still be a teenager? I don't know anymore, to be honest.
So, So her friend from high school that she runs into in Midvale just graduated with their college degree.
Okay.
And I forget what it was in.
That gives us a bit of a range then. Okay.
She's supposed to be around 21, 22, you would think. That's when they usually graduate.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think her art is pretty solid. It definitely, like this opening with she's fighting like the shark with the sort of squid like dress on. This definitely made me think of like Kelly Thompson doing West Coast Avengers. I was getting vibes of that, and that's not a bad thing. Like, I'm not mad at that at all. So
I just think it's funny that the squid dress still has eyes. Like that gave me such a chuckle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's meant to be like she made this dress out of a big squid she killed.
Yes, but why are the eyes still there? Like, you can remove them if you want. You know,
because she's a shark. She likes the eye still to be there. I don't know.
Yeah, but Princess Shark, no, she's got things. You know.
Yeah, it felt like
that was real funny.
Very tongue-in-cheek kind of like, oh, here's an overly silly girl villain to just sort of start things off on. But you know, we get a little bit of like Supergirl kind of like just setting into the continuity, this idea that she's looking after Kandor because Superman's been exiled from it, so that's tying into the Wade storyline that was in action recently. I did love Streaky walking past Kandor and Kara being like, hey, don't you dare knock that off the table. That did make me chuckle. As a cat owner, that gave me a laugh. And then there's also a bit inside the city when she goes in where she has to take down Laron, who's acting out.
Kryptonian werewolf.
Yeah, that's who it is. But like he's acting out and he's attacking things, and she kind of calms him down with her cape, and she tells the council that, hey, give him some more therapy, maybe try and help him a little bit. And they're like, no, we won't do that. That seems like a lot of resources. How about we'll like loan him out to you and you can be his guardian? And she actually turns it down, which feels like an interesting little character because I assumed she was going to say yes and this was going to be part of the plot. But she says no. Yeah. Interesting. So we have that.
Well, that's the thing. You'd assume that she's not going to take him out of Kandor, right? So would she have to stay in Kandor? You know? So her making that decision, I thought was like, well, she likes to visit, but she doesn't want to stay. That's how I took that.
No, I don't think it is that at all. This felt more like a personal decision where she didn't feel comfortable having that responsibility. Because she even says, like Superman would just say yes to this. That's what he would do. And she talks about kind of being under his shadow and how, like, but is this what I would do? I don't think it is. Right. I think there's a bit of an identity crisis kind of element like going on with the story here.
Well, because there's also a Kryptonian or a Kandorian, the redheaded girl. That's like, oh my God, you're so amazing. You're way better than Superman. And Kara's like, okay, it's not a contest, but thanks.
Yeah, and obviously
I try to make sure everyone's safe.
Yeah, and obviously where the plot goes by the end of the issue, like the idea of her having an identity crisis is definitely what we're exploring. So we'll get into all that. So yeah, this Kandor stuff makes up a good middle of the issue. But the whole idea is that she's going back to Midvale. Her parents are living there again at the old house. Kara doesn't really like the idea of going back there, but she's like, okay, I guess I'm going. So we get some stuff where she even like questions to herself, like, do I go by Linda again? Because that's what people in the town knew me as. Do I just sort of make any excuses to why I'm going by Kara now? She combs her hair brunette with the cosmic comb or whatever it's called.
the chromatic comb.
That's what it is. Chromatic comb.
I thought that was very funny. I do love the superheroes having different hair color trope, right? So for Black Canary, it was a wig or whatever, but for Kara here, it's this science comb. And her saying like, what? To
be fair, like glasses plus a different hair color is more convincing than just glasses.
Brother, there's always that talk about people not realizing that Superman's Clark Kent, but then I see people with a slightly different haircut wearing glasses, and it takes me a second to realize who it is. So yes, definitely is a thing. But her with Kara being like, well, maybe I'll say that Kara's my middle name, and that's why I'm going by it now. I thought that was very funny. Like you said, it felt like very young people kind of stuff. You know, she's having this crisis of.
But to be fair though, if you want to critique these thought bubbles on this page as being a bit too dense, like that's fair too, because she is sort of like going through all these ideas, and there are big paragraphs. So it maybe could be doing with like being slimmed down a little bit. I did generally like though the sort of like ideas that she's going through and the characterization. And I think when the book was announced and it said, oh, we're doing more Midvale stuff where she's going to be in the small town, I was like, okay, I kind of like that. Make it smaller scope than some of the other super books. The big thing of the book, though, is when she gets back to Midvale and she arrives there, there's a big sign saying Midvale, home of Supergirl. And she's like, what the hell? Why? And she finds out, like, she sees, like, Supergirl merchandise and stuff. Yep. She looks like a stand-up and goes, wait, why do I look so different in the stand-up? Why? And I quote, why am I so busty in this stand-up? I don't get it.
So the whole busty thing, I'm like, is Paige there? What's Paige up to?
You were expecting Power Girl. You were like, okay, busty. Yeah, my mind goes one place.
Yes, right? Busty Kryptonian. Boom, it's Paige. That's Power Girl. But here, this one is kind of like a kind of short bob haircut, wearing a full blue suit, and I'm like, who is this supposed to be? It looks
like Supergirl from like the 60s or something like that.
Yeah,
which I don't think is accidental. But anyway, like Kara finds boxes outside her parents' house of her old costumes just sitting there, and she's like, wait, why are these out here? This is like dangerous. And she runs into like an old school friend and engages in small talk, has to hide her outfits. It's a whole thing. But you know, she's like, hey, all this Supergirl stuff, what's going on with that? And the old friend is like, oh yeah, Supergirl came back to town recently, and like starts talking, and she's like, wait, no, I didn't. What are you talking about? Like, that's what she's thinking. So the big thing is that, you know, so there's almost a car accident. Some guy loses control of his car, almost hits this old friend. Kara, there's a fun little transition where she sort of tornadoes into her Supergirl outfit and like saves the day. And they're all like, hey, it's Supergirl. But then the old friend's like, wait a minute, you're not Supergirl. You're an imposter. The real Supergirl warned us about you. And she's like, wait, what? What? I am Supergirl. So the big ending of the issue is that this one that we've seen in the billboards and stuff, the short-haired one with the all-blue outfit and a rabbit with a super cape on by her side, comes floating in and says, I was right as usual, I'm Supergirl, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, like, she immediately, like, throws, like, paint on, like, Kara's face, which, like, drips down onto her top and changes the Superman logo to, like, a P, which we later find out stands for Phony Girl, as what this other Supergirl is calling her. So Crypto's kind of pissed off, and it helps her up. But the real kind of weirdness to it, though, it's like, oh, so it's okay, all right. So there's a second Supergirl. Who is that? What's going on here? That's one kind of element to this. But the weird element is that at the end of the issue, when she goes back into civilian mode, she goes into the house, and her parents are like, who are you? We don't know who you are. And then downstairs comes clearly the civilian version, calling herself Linda Danvers. And Kara's like, no, I'm Linda. At least I think I am. And that's where the book ends. And I think what's interesting about this is this idea that we're almost playing with the fact that Supergirl's been like retconned and had like different variations of her past. Because I was surprised when they brought the Linda Danvers stuff in, because I thought that was like previous versions of Supergirl and not this one, which almost feels that we're doing, you know, when at the start of Rebirth there was two Supermen and it was actually like they were both kind of different versions of them and they merged. It kind of feels like we might be doing that. Other than the fact that this other Supergirl is kind of a bitch. Other than that part.
Yeah, well, and she's thick too. Like,
yes, busty. As previously pointed out.
well, not just that. She's got big old thick legs too, which, you know, Kara tends to be more on the, you know, I don't want to say thinner because that's not the right word, right? But she's built differently than this one too. So it's almost like you said, when you brought up, it's kind of reminiscent of the 60s, right? Like she's built like Christina Hendricks in Mad Men, right? And so, yeah, it's weird. And her friend is dressed like it's the 60s because she looks like she's straight out of Riverdale, right? So there's some weird stuff going on here. And I want to know what's up with Thick Supergirl, as I'm calling him, until we find out what's going on here.
Well, I think
she is now Thick Supergirl.
To be fair, I think we can just call her Linda for now, at least until we get something else, right? And just separate them by that. So the real one's Kara, and then Linda's the other one. And I think because the other one is acting kind of mean and actively said, hey, an imposter will show up, That makes me think it isn't just a simple case of Supergirl somehow split into two and there's something else going on. So I don't think it's going to be the same resolution, but it definitely made me think of that Superman Reborn stuff a little bit with having the two of them and her questioning, like, wait, am I misremembering stuff about my past? Am I confused? What's going on here?
The other thing is that she's like, well, I don't know if she's full Kryptonian because she flew away, but she was very reliant on these gadgets, like the things that she throws on her. Kara
points that out in her own thought bubble. She's like, hey, she could fly seemingly, but she was using like a ray gun and like this, paint thing, and like she wasn't using other superpowers. She was using technology of some kind. So, yeah, it's interesting. Here's a question: do you think this imposter, at the very least, is aware of a prior continuity of Supergirl and is using it in some form?
It wouldn't surprise me if there's some, not timey-wimey, but time-spacey kind of stuff, that they are aware of Supergirl, and now they're coming in to try to fill in for whatever reason. They're trying to assume her identity.
I think that not having the powers, or all the powers, plus the attitude, makes me think it's not just an actual Kara, but someone who is maybe taking from like Supergirl's retcon past, but isn't like actually her.
The flight but no powers makes me feel like Legion kind of stuff, right? So you have the Legion flight ring that allows you to fly. I was like, is this someone from the future that's come back to kind of in the way that Professor Zoom, Eobard Thane started off as like a Flash fan and then got turned dark for whatever reason. Well, is this kind of deal? They started as a Supergirl and now they're coming back to assume the identity because they can do it better.
I mean,
type deal.
Whatever's going on here, they've altered the minds of the people who knew her, or parents at the very least, or arguably might have even went back in time and changed the entire timeline so that they never knew her. That's a bit messier to clean up though, so I don't know if we're going to go down that path. It might just be more she's done something to their heads kind of thing.
Because I feel it's more that. Because, yes, you have the telepath stuff too. There could be stuff from, because they mentioned absolute power. So maybe this is someone with the telepath powers. I'm not saying that word again because I can't say it right. Right? That ended up in them. And now they're using it to assume Supergirl's identity. Because there is a line where Kara says, where she brings up people are being nice to her, despite what happened in Absolute Power. Where's that at?
Yeah, she says despite what Amanda Waller making everyone hate all the superheroes. Yeah, that's what it was. So
I'm wondering if that has something to do with it too. If it's a sloppy thing.
I mean, the Kandor stuff was referencing recent Action Comics continuity, so it's not impossible that the recent event will be used in some way. And, I mean, that been an explanation here that whoever this is someone who's gained a power from absolute power, messing up all the powers everywhere. Would be a plausible explanation that would make sense. And it would make sense why it's just flight and not all the other stuff, because they didn't get it from a Kryptonian. They might have got it from someone else,
whoever else, and also her parents moving there and calling her is weird. So that means it had to have happened in the time that she talked to her mom.
That's why
it come to Midvale.
Yeah, that's why either if the timeline changed, it had to have happened in that trip to Midvale, or if there's like a bubble in Midvale where it's only affecting inside that range, then it must have happened again after that call, because her parents clearly knew who she was when she called them. So, that's a change that's happened since then, regardless of what it is. But I do think this is a fun plot, though. And I kind of like that we're kind of between the parents, the friend that's in town, and then this new kind of mischievous enemy. It feels like we're building up a supporting cast for Supergirl here.
Oh, she doesn't seem powerful enough. But I'm like, what if it's an imp? Right? Because this feels very Mxyzptlk.
I had considered that. It does kind of feel like in tone with that stuff.
Where it doesn't seem like it's evil. It just seems like you said, when you just said mischievous.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
the thing is though, Matt, like if Mixie or an imp was pretending to be a Kryptonian, they could just pretend to have all the powers. They'd have
everything.
Yeah.
Right. Because they can warp reality to as they want. Yeah. Yeah, so I went as soon as Kara got to Midvale, all my things that I was hung up on kind of slowly disappeared, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is gonna be fun."
Yeah, no, I dug most of this. Like maybe a little overly wordy and a couple of thought bubbles here or there, but nothing that like was getting super in the way. I do actually quite like the art by and large. I think it's nice and bright and colorful. I do think it's got kind of a bubbly, kind of fun, young vibe to it. So it feels like it kind of fits, like it feels like because every so often I feel like when they redo a Supergirl book, sometimes it's like, oh, we're going to age her up a little bit and we're going to have it be a little darker, and not like a super dark thing, but they do something differently. Women of Tomorrow was not this bubbly, right? Women of Tomorrow was like a serious sort of Western style story with Supergirl. Yeah. This feels like it's veering back to a bit more towards, no, she's kind of a fun, bubbly character to an extent, but not in like a super cartoony way, but just in like a you can see how this would still appeal to a youngish female audience in addition to just working in general. So
yeah, it feels like they're definitely making a statement of trying to make Supergirl appear younger in that, right? We don't need to age her up and make her darker. We just need to let her be a young person. And I feel like they hit that here. And it kind of felt like when Josie Campbell took over Mary Marvel, and Mary felt like a young person for the first time in a minute, because she had always been the, since the reinvention, Billy's older sister, and she has to be the responsible one. But when in that Shazam book that she did, that Josie Campbell, it feels very in tone similar to that. So and I'm here for that. I didn't realize that it was also Campbell doing the art, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the art's pretty good. I guess the only thing I will say is that, and this is a consistent thing through a lot of the book, is that she doesn't seem to draw in the teeth. It's just like a sort of like a straight white strip going across. Like if you look at the very last page with the Linda Danvers coming down the stairs, it looks like a boxer with like a mouth guard in. Yeah. That's literally the only critique I've got, is that sometimes the mouth looked a bit weird because of the teeth.
Yeah, it's the opposite of the Gary Frank, where Gary Frank insists on drawing all the teeth, so sometimes like big old bunny teeth. It's the opposite of that problem.
Yeah, it's not always in it. Like, see if the mouth's just open a little bit, it's fine. But whenever their mouth's like completely open, like that last page, it does, because the bottom panel's fine. Like Kara's face at the bottom of that panel, the amount her mouth is open, it looks fine that there's no detail on the teeth. But in the Linda in the top panel, it looks like she's wearing a guard for boxing.
Yeah.
So, minor. It's a minor quibble. It's a very minor quibble, because I think, generally speaking, I really like how the art looks.
Yes. Quick question with Crypto, though. Does she use that comb to give him a spot, or is that spot always there? Because I just realized I never really see Crypto without his cape. So does he have a big spot on his back all the time?
I don't think he usually does.
I don't remember that. Yeah. But so
is it possible this is Crypto's version of glasses, even though like all the dogs of his breed are going to look pretty similar, so it doesn't really matter that much, but fine, whatever.
But he has a distinct saddle spot, and I think that's very funny. And what does she call him? Because he's not Crypto right now.
Spot, I think. Was it not?
Is it Spot?
No, Spike. Was it Spike?
Spike. Let me see.
Yeah, which again, I love. Why? I mean, okay, I guess you can't have other people here. You call him Crypto, so I guess you have to have a civilian name for him. But still, it's funny. Funny that Crypto's got a secret identity as well.
Yes.
No, I think the art is generally very good, though. I think it's very expressive. I think
Skip.
The thought, but Skip. There you go. I knew it was something with an S.
Yeah.
But they're very expressive. I think the animated faces really work well with the thought bubbles. It makes it feel kind of bubbly, like you said, and no pun intended. And then just generally speaking, I think it does a good job of sticking to simple layouts, except for pages where it wants to feel a little bit more spectacular. So, for example, all the panels when she first goes into Kandor, it's just straight boxes for the first few pages. But then that one page where she's saved the red-headed girl, and she's holding up like the big block of concrete or whatever it is, all of a sudden we're doing something a little bit different in that page, where she's standing in the negative white, and there's just a little bit of background behind her in a box, but it's mostly negative white, and it's just to sort of like represent this idea of the girl looking up at her, and it's almost like the rest of the world's faded away because she's just focused on the fact that Supergirl just saved her, like a deer in the headlights. It's kind of a, you know, just there's some nice stylistic choices in there. Nothing reinventing the wheel, but very, very solid. So, I like that it feels different to the last couple of Supergirl books we got, and they were all pretty good, to be fair. I don't think we've had a super bad Supergirl book in a while. So, I'm fairly pleased. I'm down for more of it. I don't have a choice, funnily enough, but I'm down for more anyway. So
I did not know that. That is so funny.
Yeah.
So
thanks, Tyler, I guess. But it turned out good. That said, though, he did decide what I'm going to be reading after American Vampire, when that's done. So
gotcha.
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. But there you go. That's Super. What are you giving Supergirl, Matt?
I'm gonna a straight 8.
Yeah, I think I agree with a straight 8. I think, you know, there's a couple of little nitpicks, things to say, but I think I like the vibe of it. I like the characterization, and I'm down for like the weird plot that it's set up by the end. It's kind of nice. So, cool. Green Lantern Corps, issue 4, legacy number 107, Morgan Hampton and Jeremy Adams writing, with Amancay Nahuelpan and V. Kenneth Marion on the art. So this book is kind of a standalone issue. There is a little bit of a tie to the what's his name? The vampire dude.
The
Starbreaker. Starheart?
Starbreaker.
No. Starbreaker.
Yeah, Starheart.
Starheart.
You know, I'm gonna click on the title where they give all the characters, and we're gonna go off of that.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea.
Anyways, we know him as a star vampire. Right?
Star vampire. Right. So it does.
Starbreaker, but then we get Evil Star, and I was like, can we, guys?
Yeah, Evil Star.
60s, 70s writers, could we not come up with anything that didn't have Star in it? To name these guys?
More than that in a bit, but this issue breaks down into 2 plots. One is that Jessica tells Guy he has to take out one of the new recruits for some field experience, which he's not very happy about. Kilowog thinks the little guy's useless as well, but this little alien, like, furry dude is a new recruit who's he's very scared, he's very timid.
His name is it Snarf? Or am I filling that in? Because he's like Snarf. He looks like kind of like Snarf from Thundercats. People are familiar with that. He's like this little lion-looking dude. He's trying his best, man. I thought Guy and look, I love Guy and I love Kilowog, and I understand their tough love. I felt they were a little bit mean to this dude.
Yeah,
like cut him a little bit of a break. He was clearly chosen by the Ring, right? So there's some potential there.
Well, no, he wasn't, Matt.
Wait, no? He's one of the ones that it just manifested, right?
No. Matt,
okay.
Remember, the Green Lantern Corps are now recruiting now. The Rings aren't finding them anymore. Right. They're just, like, bringing people in.
Right, but doesn't he have to manifest something so they know that he can do it, right? I mean, that's what I was understanding.
I mean, they've not specified that. All we know is that John, as in John Stewart, said that he had a talent, right? And that's the one thing they bring up. So John Stewart recruited him for the Corps. That's what we know, right? So it's not the Rings finding them anymore like the old days. I mean, are all the recruits manifesting stuff, or are they just been given rings? I'm not sure. Obviously, some of the ones that we've seen be recruited in this book have been the case with that, but I don't know. They've not shown us that yet. He certainly doesn't manifest anything in this issue, so I don't know if he's able to do that yet.
No, he does, except for sheer terror.
Yes.
That boy is scared.
So that's plot number 1. Plot number 2 is that Kelly needs a device, a doohickey, a psionic battery for whatever she's working on. And she goes to Baz for some help, who is working on his... He's basically made a construct of his car from back on Earth and is working on it as if it's a real car because he cares that much about it. He's basically just built a fantasy version of it. So she wants to do that, and she mentions it was her birthday, and he's like, wait, what age are you now? And she's like 12, and he's like, but you're called Teen Lantern.
Yeah.
I did get a laugh out
Teen
of that.
Lanter's not even a teen. Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, and Haley's there as well,
she
of
could
course.
have been Kid Lantern, right? You know, but we went with Teen Lantern, so yeah, that was very funny.
Teen Lantern sounds better. I know why they picked it. It's just they could have just made it. They could have made it 13 just so that it made sense. But here we are. So Haley's there as well, the construct of John's sister, and they go on a trip to somewhere where they might be able to buy one of these batteries that she needs. So that's her B plot, right? So we get two plots involving a collection of different Green Lantern characters. And what's kind of nice is that these are the characters that haven't been as featured yet in this book. It's only issue 40 to be fair, so it's not like they've been, taking tons of time. But we've focused on John Stewart, we've focused on Sinestro a little bit, and like some other things. So this was like, hey, we're going to get a plot with Baz and Kelly and Helly, and we're going to get a plot with Guy and this new recruit. So I really like this just from a focus perspective of like, hey, we can do a little story here with these other lanterns that aren't getting used as much. And that's kind of cool. It also builds like the idea that Kelly and Baz have kind of a friendship now is kind of cool as well. He's doing the uncle thing a little bit, Yep. So, fun. So yeah, they go to like a space station that's built out of a dead star, to be precise.
It's very Guardians of the Galaxy when they go to the Celestial. I forget the name of that place, but it's like a space station in the husk of a dead star, which is kind of cool.
And they go to like a broker, like black market type dude, and they're like, hey, you got one of these batteries? And he's like, oh, I can't admit what I've got, you're going to take me in. And Baz is basically like, to be fair, like Baz is kind of abusing his power here. He's like, hey, sell us the battery we need and I will overlook all of the illegal goods. It's like, all right, corruption here, Baz, come on. That's
Here's my thing. I think he's just being a good law enforcement guy, because he's like, look, man, I could bring you in, but let's just save us some time, and we're here to conduct real business.
Yeah, but I laughed.
I know.
I laughed though, because one of the very next scenes is Guy also abusing his power by basically trying to threaten people to get in somewhere, and I'm like, you know what? These two are by far the worst in terms of like being shitty cops out of the whole crew.
ACAB also includes Green Lanterns.
Apparently, at least these two anyway.
Yeah,
that's it. I did enjoy the furry Green Lantern being scared. Like, there's a very like, I don't know, like, what's the word I'm like? I'm not saying the art is more cartoony, but there's a very cartoon-like quality to the type of character he is.
Yeah, he looks like a Saturday morning cartoon character.
He does, yeah.
And when you put him against Guy looks like Guy. It's typical what you would expect Guy to look like. So the contrast is hilarious. Because he looks like Guy brought a stuffed animal to life. And he's going along with him. But he looks so scared. I'll give Nahuelpan so much credit for the body language here with our buddy Narf. Because he looks so unconfident in every single panel. I love it. So I think when we see why he can be a Green Lantern, why John Stewart chose him, I think it's going to feel like a really good moment.
Yeah, it is interesting because obviously the two stories are the two different artists. And I didn't feel too much whiplash going from one to the other. I can definitely see it when I'm looking for it, but yeah. Anyway,
so I might have given that to the wrong artist.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't actually know which one's which, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
I can't tell. I don't know either of the art well enough to just spot it with eye.
Yeah, because Nahuelpan is very typical house style. So maybe that is the Kelly and Simon stuff, and then the other guy. But credit to whoever it is.
Yeah.
The Ken Marion is the other guy.
Yeah, so the guys there to see Evil Star to look for a lead to get to Starbreaker. So yeah, too many Star characters. So that's what he's there for. And then meanwhile, Kelly and Baz get tricked. The thing that the guy hands them isn't actually a battery, it's like a flashbang that knocks them both out. And he's trying to take off Kelly's glove because he sees it as something valuable. And it's not working. Like he's trying to like go at it with like a screwdriver and like a drill, and like nothing's making it come off. However, Helly was left outside in the car construct, and she's starting to like sense that something's not right. That like, Kelly's life signs have went kind of flat. Not dead, obviously, but
Right.
like, you know, they're not active in the same way. So she's starting to wonder if she should go in. Evil Star starts try to shoot Guy, but he's got a shield up, so it's, you know, not a big deal. Although he does end up hitting him with this giant ray gun, which in a 2-page spread, like, Guy and the furry dude are fine in the bubble, but the bubble gets fired out of the place like a big like bowling ball or something, right? It like it's hit back, so they go flying in the ball, the construct. While it seems like whatever the black market like alien dude did, it's I want to say it's a Black Mercy thing per se, because it's not a happy thing, but Baz kind of thinks that he's back in an interrogation room in a police station, which obviously links back to his origin story back in the day. And Heli shows up, the construct of Heli, and says, hey, this is really me, but we're in your head. Like, I've been able to reach you this way to talk to you. So what's going on here? And he's like, oh, I remember this. This is like, you know, my tragic past. And they go through a door and, like, you know, they talk about this a little bit. But when they go through the door, the end of the issue shows what Kelly's seeing in her head. And at the very least, like, is it really what happened? Or is it like a dark version of what happened? Is it like alternate to make it look bad? But like she's standing in a junkyard above an alien who's crash landed seemingly a little bit like Abin Sur. And he's saying, you have to destroy the glove before it destroys everything. And she's saying, no, that's not how it happened. This isn't right. And that's where the book ends. So I don't know if maybe like this memory's been altered to try and convince her to let go of the glove. Like maybe that's what the goal is, because this alien really wants it. But it does say next we get the origin of Teen Lantern, which we somehow never got when Bendis introduced her. We never got the origin. So
she just showed up.
So that's cool, because I like her as a character, so I'm down to get more like concrete backstory on her.
Since there was that shift in Green Lantern, I have liked that they seem to make Kelly seem like this not just super important character, but like the way that she was sidelined when the Rogue Green Lantern Corps was going, right? Because her power was a little bit too dangerous and out of control of I forget Theron, whatever, that guy. So, and then here again, like them wanting the glove and going through this mind maze, it also makes her seem, it gives her like this element of like, no, she really is special, right? It's not just that she found this glove, and, you know, there are elements to her that almost like the green energy calls out to, which is cool, which I appreciate, because she's a new character that we never got the origin for, and she's kind of a blank slate. So I do appreciate that. I just drew a blank on Jeremy Adams' co-writer, Morgan Hampton. Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton are seeming to take the advantage of that. Like, it's a blank slate. We can tell a very compelling story. And just this whole concept of the mind maze, you know, like how do they get out? That's kind of perfect for like a 2-3 issue. Not run, but you know what I mean, arc. There we go.
Yeah. I think the chemistry between these characters is pretty good, and it's nice to. I think they're all benefiting from this time together. Baz, Kelly, and Heli. Like having Heli away from the John stuff, I think makes her a little bit more weird and interesting, which is kind of cool. Yeah. Baz has not had a lot of focus recently, so this is kind of nice for him. And then Kelly's getting a bit more fleshed out in the origin story. Yeah, I think this is good on all sides of like developing these characters and making it feel like we've got an ensemble cast we can kind of like shuffle around and spend time with whoever. Also, I loved at the start, obviously Jessica's my favorite Green Lantern. I did love her just like shooting Guy down and saying, no, do what you're told. That was very enjoyable.
Well, yes, but I also love, because that's their dynamic now, is that she's on the other side, right? Because Guy trained her, in those things. So they have that where she can tell Guy, no, do what I say, and go off. I do like that she's assumed kind of the Salic role, right? It's kind of dispatch and, ordering things out. She's the liaison. So that's a good spot for her. I hope we get to see her in the field, though, because I do like Jess a lot, just to not have her on desk duty. But it fits her well.
Yeah, it would be nice to see her still get a chance to go out and be in a story a bit more. But it is nice that she's in a position where we get to see her kind of frequently, which is cool. So, all right. And the art's pretty solid, like as we kind of pointed out throughout. So, Matt, what are you giving Green Lantern Corps?
I'm gonna give just a straight 7.
I'm going higher than that. I think I really like the. It's not like an amazing story per se, but I really like this as like an issue of an ongoing run that feels like it's fleshing out our like ensemble cast. Like I was kind of into this, so I'm going with just a nice comfortable 8 for me. I had a good time. All right, Batman and Robin issue 21, legacy number 87. Philip Kennedy Johnson and writing with Javier Fernández and Carmine D. Giandomenico on the art. So yeah, we're doing more of this Memento stuff. Obviously, last issue was a bit of a weird one because it was the one that focused on Robin's journal, and there was some nice stuff in it, but it definitely felt like, oh, I'm looking forward to getting back to a normal issue. And that's obviously what we get here. There's a bit more flashbacking, which is the Carmine Di Giandomenico art, with kind of the end of the London case, and him coming out and saying, you young people are off this case, yada yada. It's a whole thing. And it sort of shows that when he went home that night, it seemed like Memento came for him, and that seems to be the last people really get to see of him.
The way that Memento lunges at him in that way, Giandomenico is just going. I've never seen quite art from him like this. That's kind of scary. See those action sequences really well. But yeah, that was hooey.
Yeah. I kind of like the setting for the rest of the book though, which is Batman meets with Lautrec on like in the rafters of the Opera Hall in Gotham, and like they're sharing information, and he kind of reveals very quickly that Robin's missing and that Memento has him, and she starts chewing him out and saying, "Oh, this is your fault. You put him in danger. You put him in these situations." And Batman kind of admits that that's true, and he's not the first kid that he's put in danger either, which I got a chuckle out of that because it's he's like, yeah, this is the fourth. Well, if we're only counting Robins, this is the fourth. Arguably, you could count some Batgirls in there as well if you really want to get into
I feel like the only one that's not ever like you could actually have a conversation. Her belonging there is Cass, because she was trained to be this violent fighter. She can handle her own and whatever. Yeah. The rest of them though were kids that he is formatted to become soldiers. So
yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, it gets into this idea that it seems like it's Memento, although it turns out not to be later, and it did seem like a bit too easy. Like it was clearly one of the followers who were going in with like a suicide vest on, but someone gets onto the opera stage with the Memento like old school top hat on, and it's as Batman and Lautrec are talking up in the rafters, and she's starting to say what Robin's theory was on everything. The Batman like, wait a minute. They've missed a beat in the opera. I love that he knows something's wrong because he knows the opera well enough to know that they're not going to plan. But
that's how you know he came from money, because I would not know anything about an opera.
Yeah, I like it. What I like about this though is that when he looks down, and obviously he's been seeing these visions ever since he breathed in that stuff, is that he sees the ghosts, if you will, of when there was a fire at the opera and killed a bunch of people back in the 40s, but it's mixed in with the people who are there now. And it's very eerie because it's like, hey, this is going to happen again, right? To quote the tall man from Twin Peaks, it is happening again. So he obviously whips into action and goes down to try and save it. But I really dug the art and all this. Like, see all this stuff with him and Lautrec up in the rafters with the light coming from below them? I really dug all the moodiness in the art there. It felt really just distinct and kind of like, there's a lot of shadows. There's a lot of like, even the idea that there's an opera down below just feels very like theatrical in a way that makes all this feel a lot of fun. And despite how dark it actually is.
Well, I like what Fernández does with the art too, where you can see the music going like between him and Lautrec in those panels, right? And then we get to that point, and when he's looking at the stage, like it's the same music because he talks about the two choruses sing the same aria together. So it's the red stuff that we associate with the visions, and then the stuff that he's hearing now. So just the way that they play with the art to make that all come together is really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a whole bit here where because like not the main vest, but there is like an explosion that goes off and some of the rafters are falling down. It's going to fall on a kid, and Batman knows he can't really get there in time, but he eventually saves the kid by like grapple gunning the falling beam and just being able to just pull it over enough that it lands next to the kid rather than on top of him.
Yep.
And it does feel like a big moment. The art here is really good. The fire, like especially on the page, like after it lands, where you get like the kid being like shoved back with the force of the explosion, and it's all inside the lettering of the. I don't even know what that says.
Crunch,
I
just
think.
like crunch. Yeah. I love him talking himself through it, and he goes, "The kid's frozen, won't reach him in time. Not even I can control gravity." And then he goes, "What would Clark say about that? Not with that attitude." And I love that. I love that he's even getting inspiration from his buddy, in dire times. So.
Yeah. So basically, the Trek actually catches the guy running away outside, and then Batman shows up.
Hell of a clothesline. Jeez, Stan Hansen-esque. I love it.
Well, Joe's really good about it is that it's raining when they get outside, and one of the ways you can tell the momentum of the clothesline is that you can see like the line going across the rain where it's like, it's breaking the rain flow. So you actually get a sense of movement going across the panel. So the art is really tip top.
Yeah, it's real good.
So yeah, she holds him at gunpoint. Batman shows up and he's like, "Wait, you're not Memento. You're just one of the followers of the group that worships him."
He was the tour guide on that crime tour when Batman got spiked with the gas.
Right. The Memento Society.
And he was just like, and like
they all
looks
got
creepy. He's got red eyes.
Yeah, because they all got spiked with the gas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's like, so okay, here he is, right, and he's like, okay, tell me what was the Robin theory? And basically, it was Damian's theory about how, like the Nicodemus Crow, right? Like the mask from his body. They claimed that he raised a demon. So the idea that this Memento is not a man, it is a demon, and that's why these killings are in cycles that go back generations and generations. And the one negative that I'm going to throw at the issue, and we've said this earlier in the arc as well, is that I thought at this point maybe Batman will say, you know what, at this point I'm starting to be willing to believe this, but instead he doubles down and says, no, Damian was right not to tell me this stupid theory. This is nonsense. And I'm like, Batman, if this was like year 2 and you'd not met like, Superman and Flash yet, and maybe would have like went along with your like, strict line of thinking that there's nothing supernatural in existence, but you know Zatanna, you've met Constantine, in what world is this unrealistic to you at this point?
Hold on. I'll do you one better than Zatanna and Constantine. He is teamed up with Etrigan, a literal demon. He knows Jason Blood.
Yeah, it's weird.
Bruce. Look, as far as skepticism goes and stuff, I fully understand it, right? But again, I've experienced things that I can't explain, and that's okay sometimes. And I hope that's the point that we're getting to, is that this is a character arc that Philip Kennedy Johnson wants to take us on with Bruce. That even though he's the world's greatest detective, sometimes it's okay to not know everything. And just to be able to let stuff kind of go, I hope, because that is the only excuse for him to be like, demons, stupid, that boy's dumb, I should have taught him better. And it's like, bud, not a good look. So yeah, like again, he's teamed with Etrigan before to save the universe.
Yeah, if this was out of continuity and it was meant to be like a world where only there was no Superman or Justice League, none of that other stuff existed. It was just Batman and Gotham. I would be like, fine, because even if he's fought Croc, that's a mutation that someone did in the lab. That's sciencey stuff. I could buy it.
And Scarecrow is science, right? Like the fear gas can make you see hallucinations and whatever and whatever.
Yeah,
but Bane is science. There's not a lot of magic. Batman doesn't have magical foes, right? It's all mainly tech-based in that way.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think if he has really any, and I can't think of any.
We're not. We're in continuity, right? We're in the DCU. He even referenced Superman a couple of pages ago, as you pointed out. He brought him up in his thought narration box. So his thought narration box, that was a weird way of saying that. But like, so it's a weird complaint. It's annoying that we have this weird disconnect, and it's a shame because it's the only real problem I have with anything, because everything else here it's because the bit after this where Bruce chases down like a little pickpocket kid into the sewers and is like, hey, I need to find out where this bad guy's hiding, and you because you're the runaways and you're the kids that are living underground, you know the city just as well as I do. Have you seen anything down here? Have you seen like a young boy who's went missing? And seemingly, they have, because it kind of leads us to this that's under the old sunken part of Gotham that's underground, and we see Damian in the cell.
It looks so cool. The Gotham that never was, or you would assume this is from the earthquake, right? And then they just built over.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I remember this coming up bizarrely, and this was a while ago now, admittedly, but I remember this being really cool at the time. Was the Arkham City video game did a section where you went down into the underground old part of the city. I don't remember if that was because of it was meant to be saying No Man's Land happened, or if it was just something else in that case. But either way, that's the last time I remember doing that.
Because there are big cities that have stuff like this, like Seattle. It's famous. It has an underground portion that's kind of like this, where there's this big fire and it was just easy to build above. So now the actual city itself is 12 feet over where it used to be because of that. So it's kind of giving that vibes too. But Bruce going and talking to the pickpockets, again, I would never equate Batman with Charles Dickens, but this was very, Oliver Twist and Good Expectations kind of vibe.
That fits in thematically with all the Victorian era looking stuff Memento wears, right?
Yes, that does. And he even calls them the Gotham Irregulars, which is the group, I believe, Watson. That was the Basil Street Irregulars. They're from Sherlock Holmes. I might be getting some of that wrong, but there's a group called the Basil Street Irregulars, and they talk about Sherlock Holmes stuff.
Sorry, I'm only familiar with Basil the Great Mouse Detective.
Yes. Well, he lived at Baker Street.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the Baker Street. I'm throwing Basil in there because of the Great Mouse Detective. They're the Baker Street Irregulars because he lives at 22B, right? Anyways. But it feels like it's that too, so that also goes off the Victorian with the Sherlock Holmes. So just thematically, Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing some really cool stuff. But yeah, with Damian trying to get out of what looks like Magneto cell from the end of the first X-Men movie.
Yeah,
it's a
glass box.
Glass or plastic. Yeah.
And the ending is that a voice comes out of the darkness to talk to him, and it looks like it's the detective from Bruce's past, the one that people thought might be Memento.
Atticus Spy.
Because there was a thing earlier on where LaTrox said she had the body exhumed to see if he was still there, and it doesn't actually answer. She just says, "Oh, what do you think the result was, Batman?" And we don't get to hear it. And then at the end here, we see him. So now,
I feel like there was no body to exhume.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, not that I think this is saying that he is Memento, but I think it is saying that obviously he's now tied to Memento because of what happened back then. So. Yeah, solid issue. I loved all the stuff in the rafters and the opera house kind of rescue. Like all that was great stuff. The art's phenomenal. Just that one sticking point of it's weird that Batman's being so cynical about all this when it just feels like, nah, you've encountered enough stuff that this shouldn't be actually that far fetched anymore.
Yeah. God, it's so funny to me. I was reading this yesterday, and I was like, Bruce, again. He's more pig-headed than I am. I'll tell that much.
Like, so, I get the idea that this was a personal case from before he encountered a lot of this stuff, and he just doesn't want to accept that there was something supernatural about it, even back then, but it still feels weird. I don't think it justifies just how much he's denying that this is the case. Like, he knows this kind of thing can exist. This is stupid. So, other than that complaint,
just open your mind to it, be like, yeah. Because there's no proof of the occult. It's the Gravemaker's poppy. It's making me see things. There's no occult. If we have that thread kind of going through a little bit, I could see it. I mean, it's like, no, there's a logical explanation for everything. If that's what he was writing on this whole time, then I could see that. But also him calling Damian dumb. I don't like that either. But also when he describes Damian to the pickpocket kids, he does, talk about how he has a slight accent, which I always like when writers throw that kind of stuff in. Because it's all stuff that we read in our mind's eye, right? To be
honest,
Damian voice sounds different.
Yeah, to be honest, I never even considered that he has a slight accent for Gotham.
Yeah, me neither.
Never occurred to me.
And so I like that. I like that little character piece that Johnson's throwing in there. So Yeah, Bruce calling him dumb. I was like, come on, bro. You're his dad. Be a little bit nicer.
Yeah, sure.
No wonder he wants to go be a doctor. He doesn't want to take the family business anymore.
I was trying to break out my camera there, but the settings refused to pop up, so you're stuck with this moody version of me for the rest of the show. Deal with it. All right, what are you rating Batman and Robin?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
Oh, I kind of want to, but I'm going to go with the 8 just for that one sticking point. That one thing that just is still frustrating. But otherwise, very good. I'm loving everything else Johnson's doing. It's been a really cool book. So, cool. Aquaman, issue 5. Jeremy Adams writing with John Timms on the art. Matt?
Yeah.
I think I'm done.
I figured you might.
I think I'm done.
Look, this is straining even me, and I love Jeremy Adams. He's one of my favorite guys right now. This is straining my interest because I have no idea what the hell the blue's supposed to be. Like, I understand the red, I understand the green, I understand the gray, I understand the rot. The blue is just water, like that they kick people into, and they're living in it in structures. And we get this very dark, especially for Jeremy Adams, at the beginning, this very dark scene where they feed this whole family to these frenzied sea creatures. And I was just like, what kind of Aquaman story is this? When you look in the context of Aquaman stories, where does this stand? What type of story are they trying to tell? Because this isn't kind of the mythical aspect that we've gotten in other sides, or the kind of the word I'm looking for, the hesitant ruler Arthur. This is him going on this weird adventure. Like, it's almost like Arthur's D&D campaign, but it's not that compelling anymore.
I mean, I think the way I would talk about it is it feels like we've been jettisoned into an alternate reality of some kind. Now, whether or not this blue stuff ends up having like an importance and just kind of like Aquaman mythology going forward when we do get Atlantis back to the real world and everything else, maybe it will. Maybe he's got plans for that, and that's fine. But this story just feels like I believe the anime people of the world call it an isekai. And
what does that mean exactly?
I believe, Matt, that is when a story is about a character who is taken away from their world and put in like a new one that they don't understand. Right? Okay. Usually a magical...
Stranger in a strange land.
Well, yeah, but more like a super... Like, not necessarily supernatural, but like
mystical.
Because you could do a Stranger in a Strange Land story about like a samurai washing up on the shore of like, you know, France or something. That wouldn't be an isekai. An isekai, I believe, again, not an expert in this, but I believe this is when a character is teleported in some way to another dimension or world where there's like it's either a fantasy world, maybe it's a sci-fi world, whatever it is, but it's not their world, and they have to learn about it and like rise up and like end up being like the chosen one that will save it. That's what this story kind of feels like.
Right. Okay. So in more Western terms, that's kind of like John Carter, like not just the movie, but the Edgar Rice Burroughs original story.
Yeah. John Carter.
John Carter, or which then also informed Adam Strange being transported to Ran and becoming their ultimate champion. So yeah, except those stories are fun. This is like a chore. Well, and now we get Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues.
Oh yeah, I was rolling my eyes at the Nemo stuff, but yeah, no.
What are we doing?
I think the thing for me is that it's not even just is it fun or not, because I don't think it's very fun, but it's the fact that like if you're going to like start a story with saying this is an isekai style story, that's fine. That's what it is. Maybe it's a little trite, whatever. But if you've got ideas for it, you've got it to work. That's fine. But I think like in the same way that I didn't like when Batman started just hopping around the multiverse randomly. Instead of like, you know, like doing some interesting stuff with its actual supporting cast. And that's the other thing. That's the thing that really bothers me here is that Aquaman has lost all of his supporting cast and he's with all these other characters until he eventually gets them back. And I'm just not that interested in like this Merlin type character that's with him, or Vivian or whatever her name is. I'm just not that interested in these other things. And yes, there's a tease at the end, but Dagon like having Mira tied up or something. And it's like, oh, we're going to see what's happened to Mira soon. okay, fine, but the abruptness of like how we get into this story and then everything about like just Arthur having to learn all the rules of this world is just, I don't know, like I'm more interested in like a compelling story, either about Atlantis or about like like it's an underwater city. Goddamn, I loved that stuff in the Rebirth run when it became about him.
Cabinet.
Yeah, him becoming like a vigilante in Atlantis was a really cool, interesting idea, and like until he could like build up and regain like power and control again. That was really cool, and just anything that develops like maybe more of a supporting cast that we can do interesting stories with would be cool. And obviously, you want to do some big apocalyptic aquatic threat and like have Aquaman be at the center of it. That's cool too. Whatever. And there's lots of other things that I wouldn't even think of that I'm sure I could get into and enjoy. I love when Aquaman does monster stories and stuff like that. That stuff tends to work for me. This just feels like the fact that it's water based, like obviously yeah, there's a lot of fish looking things and whatnot, but the fact that it's water based doesn't even feel like important. This could be any story where someone's teleported to another world and they have to just sort of like learn like who's in charge and go and fight the evil bad guy at the end to like save his people, or like I just don't like it very much.
We got a cool king shark looking dude with the hammerhead named Titanus. Like that's more Aquaman type stuff that I like. But then when the mercenaries came back, and I should be loving that concept. Mermaid mercenaries called mercenaries. That's great. And I was just like, ugh, again. So yeah, man, I might have to hop off too. Once Captain Nemo showed up, which again, this is a literary figure. So like, what exactly is the blue? Is it this like encompassing that even touches fictional worlds? Right? Because then there's a whole lot of aspects there. Is that how Arthur ended up there going through the Omega Gate?
I don't necessarily think it's doing that. I think this is more a case of they're making Nemo, like they're taking a literary character and making him something that exists in the DC universe, or at least in whatever dimension he came from inside the multiverse of the DC universe.
Because League of Extraordinary Gentlemen wasn't Vertigo, right? That was its own. That was a whole different company.
Well, I think Vertigo might have put out like trades of it. I don't know if they originally published it though.
Because I mean there is precedent for DC having Captain Nemo show up in things.
Yeah, to me this is like to me this is like putting Thor in your world. It's like, oh, like he's not a Marvel or DC creation. They're just taking this god character and putting him in.
Yeah, but that's different than a literary character, because I mean there's mythologies that are around Thor where you can bend him over. It's like putting any of the Greek gods, right?
How's that different from a literary character, though?
So, because there are different versions of Thor that show up in the different. Same with the Greek gods, right? Like, there's a canon in and of themselves, right? The only canon that we have of Captain Nemo is in the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. You know what I mean? So for me, I can buy the concept of Thor showing up. It's a little bit different because, like, I guess Dracula's a figure, and we don't get mad about Dracula, I guess.
Yeah, Dracula just
shows up in a bunch of different things.
Dracula's this thing that it shows up, and everything can do their own version of Dracula, and no one really questions it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, whatever.
Yeah, I guess when I think about it like that too, because I think that Dracula though as a concept supersedes anything with Captain Nemo, right? Most people's introduction to Captain Nemo is the Kirk Douglas version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Right. So I never would put him up on that level of there. But I guess that's fair. If you're throwing Dracula and Dr. Frankenstein and all these other characters, why not somebody like Captain Nemo or, even Tarzan for that matter. Right. But yeah, I don't know. He showed up and I was kind of like, what am I supposed to be? What story am I supposed to be following with Arthur? Because I still get the vibe that Vivian and Arion aren't these good figures that are, we should be trusting. Like, there's still a vibe with them that I feel like they're using Arthur for their own gains.
Yeah, I mean,
and then I even felt like, are we going to get Dagon? Are we going to get like, oh, it's not as bad, right? But then we get this issue in his what were they called? The judiciary, or whatever they were, the magistrates. We get that, and then we see that he's done something to Mira. So no, like, so Dagon is a completely bad figure that needs to be overthrown. So
I mean,
it's just weird.
I think for me, it just boils down to fundamentally, regardless of the coat of paint that's on this, where we're doing, oh, it's in the blue, which is going to be Aquaman related, and we've got Aquaman in here. It's just a fantasy story, and I don't like fantasy that much.
Yeah.
It's such a traditional fantasy. There's a power in control of the land, and you have to rise up and take out the evil like king or whatever. Like, and we're having to learn how all this society works with all the different factors of it. I just don't enjoy any of it, and I've given it 5 issues now, and it is like I've gotten more frustrated with each passing issue. So I'm done. Like I have nothing else to say about what actually happens in this issue. I just don't care.
Just outside of it seems like he's disfigured Mara because we can't see her face. And he talks about when Arthur sees what you've done. I'm just like, okay, but yeah, I've kind of lost my steam too. And that's why I was saying like, oh, it's gonna be fun to talk about because I figured you were gonna hate this issue because it really does lean into that fantasy aspect, but it's not even in a way where I feel like I want to keep reading. As I got to the end of this issue, and I was like, I don't care anymore. And so if you were still reading, I was going to see where you were at, and I feel like we lined up weirdly, you know.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Dark Knights of Steel for I mean, but that's at least a little bit different in that it's supposed to be like reimagining everything as a fantasy medieval type world, whereas this is just we're just doing this plot in Aquaman, which I find like just so uncompelling. No. I mean, this is the thing. See, the weird thing is that if like they'd like told me explicitly what this like run was going to be, if Adams, and maybe there was interviews and stuff that I could have saw if I went and looked for them, but if they'd specifically said, "Oh, this is what this book's going to be. It's going to be about him going to another dimension, and there's going to be a king like to take out and whatnot," I'd be like, "Oh, I won't even bother then." Like I would have known then. But this has just went further and further down this rabbit hole. And the fact that we got the solicit for issue 9 or whatever it was today.
Whatever it was, yeah.
And it was like still talking about Dagon. I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I was pretty sure I was out when I read this, but when I read that solicit earlier, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely done. I'm not reading another 4 issues of this. So all right. I mean, the art's fine. I have no problem with the art.
Yeah, the art's cool. I still like the new trident. I think it's pretty cool. It's got the big, can turn into like a sword thing too. Also, that weird like prophecy thing at the beginning that there's no context for. That was thrown in there weirdly. So just making some weird.
I feel like the name at the bottom was supposed to be like some really old school version of Arthur because it was like Arthur or something like that.
There's that, but there's also it looks like Arion, right? Ari. So and then that's the King of Atlantis and all this other stuff. So, yeah, it's a bummer. I hate when this happens to Aquaman. It seems to happen to Aquaman a lot more than other characters. Yeah,
I guess they figure, we need to do something different with Aquaman. And I'm not against them doing something different, but the thing they picked in this case is so unappealing to me that, like, I'm just, okay, best of luck, but I ain't looking at it anymore.
So, what did you call that thing from anime? What is it called?
An isekai.
Isekai, okay. I was spelling it wrong. I thought you were putting the "and" in there, but that's the, part of the speech, "and." But yeah, so now I've become obsessed with if things are isekai or not. It's like Wizard of Oz.
That's an isekai, yes.
I think that's isekai.
That's absolutely isekai.
Yeah. So now my brain's going, and I love to put things in compartments. So,
I only know that word because of podcasts and then referring to things, is this an isekai or not? And I'm like, okay, now I know what it means. I can't unhear it. So yes.
Because that was my next question is someone that doesn't enjoy anime like yourself, how would you know this term? And now I just was answered.
Yes, that's how I know. Like Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 3, that's technically an isekai.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, God, I'm gonna keep doing this now.
We've learned something today. Apparently it happens a lot in anime though, which is why they have a specific like this is an entire subgenre of anime is the isekai.
Yeah.
So
I get it. It's fun to have that type of stuff. But yeah, once I started, I was like, oh, John Carter of Mars. Adam Strange. Oh man, Wizard of Oz is like that too. And now I'm going to go through it. Now I'm going to play my own version of Is It Isekai?
All right, Matt, what are you rating Aquaman?
Oh man, the art wasn't terrible. I'll give it a 4.5. I know that's low even for me, but it was just a chore to read.
Yeah, the art's good even. I don't think that there's anything wrong with the art.
Yeah.
I hate what it is. I hate the story is. So I guess I'll be diplomatic and say a 4. But
okay.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm just done. So there you go. That's that. Batman Dark Patterns issue 6. Dan Waters writing with Hayden Sherman on the art. So wrapping up this Scarface trio of issues, we have the payoffs here. We get a little bit. Batman basically figures out the backstory to this woman who's become the new Scarface. Because he ran into Wesker at the end of the last issue, and he kind of puts 2 and 2 together with him there. So we also find out the police officer that she killed does end up surviving. She actually is alive. She wakes up gasping for breath. She can't really talk very well, but yeah. So it's the whole thing. Interestingly, the 2 henchmen that come in with the masks, and she's like, "Hey, get rid of the bodies." They think, "Oh, is there any point in doing this now?" Because like they thought the husband was the main guy doing everything, and they just never even consider that she's the one that's behind it all. But yeah, so we get more of the voice playing, this idea of Scarface's voice coming through the vents, even though she's like sitting right there. Just really fun, creepy stuff. Wesker takes Batman up to this sort of like creepy basement or attic style area. That Wesker, he grew up here, so this is where he'd hide as a kid. It's where he learned to do a lot of his stuff. So
the space between the walls, right? So Batman can look in and see into certain apartments, but
yes,
on that page, we looked down and I almost got vertigo from a comic book page, just because the way that Sherman draws it as it's going down, it feels like it's endless, and like you're at the top of this chasm. So like really good stuff here.
It's like it's not it's a spiral staircase, but not in like a circular way. It's like a square spiral staircase. So there's that middle part where you can just see down and just see lots and lots of more staircases. It looks quite trippy in that sense. Super interesting. And then you have just the analysis of the crime scene. Batman goes to where the cop had been stabbed and is telling Gordon, "Oh, there's pools of blood here, but it's been scrubbed. It's hard to tell. There's a good chance she's not alive anymore based on this blood, but we'll hold out hope." Also, Wesker's tongue is in the fridge. Well, this is actually what lets Batman piece together that it's someone that she did this to him, but she's kept the tongue safe in the fridge so it can be put back on. So she clearly still cares about him. And basically Wesker taught her how to do everything. She's like, "Hey, you're in this crappy marriage. There's a lot of stuff about how the apartment is clearly, it belonged to her, but this guy moved in and kind of took over and became abusive, and she became kind of this shell of herself." And then Wesker's like, "Hey, I know what can get you through this. Can I teach you about how to project your voice and trust in Scarface?" This idea of projecting like a stronger persona that can kind of see you through and be this stronger, violent thing.
Yeah. The Cult of Scarface is a story I would 100% read. Like that whole, can I interest you in hearing about, your new savior Scarface? And it's a ventriloquism cult. That just tickles my funny bone.
Yeah, and obviously they get a taste that she's got some of this in her, because at one point, the Scarface voice says, "Oh, you guys aren't going to betray me. No one's given up my body. We're not leaving." And then one of the guys yells out, "Or was Scarface? That guy's dead. So how could you possibly threaten us? You're just a voice." And she just lunges at him and flies off the handle.
He's real. Like you're like, oh man, okay.
He's really me, damn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of good character building when Batman goes into the apartment though of this woman and her now dead husband or boyfriend. Because this is where he's like, "Oh, okay, clearly this was hers, it's in her name, but he's grown in and he became abusive, he didn't respect her, because it's not decorated like a happy couple or a happy woman would decorate. It's clearly something that's been transformed by an asshole who doesn't care about how much of a mess he makes, and just stuff like that. It's a really cool page, emphasizing all the empty bottles of beer and stuff like that.
Yeah, and just the way that that's laid out with the panel in the bottom right ends with the "you knew Scarface would protect her," right? So there is like this thing that Wesker was trying to help.
Yeah,
you know, just like this concept of teaching her confidence, but through the voice of a homicidal gangster. You know, like it's a really cool concept, really. And then again, it shows that he does, you know, Wesker isn't all Scarface, right? Like he was trying to help here.
He was trying to help someone that he thought was sympathetic and needed help. Like there was like a genuine element to it, even though obviously it's turned her into kind of a psychopath. So
let Scarface in. Scarface don't let go easy. You know?
Yeah. So it's a whole thing. There's a really creepy bit actually where they show like, so the Scarface, the doll, shows up at the apartment and the boyfriend just throws it out like it's nothing. So to try and convince him that Scarface is real, Wesker's hiding under the couch, and it's a really creepy panel. And then he sneaks out the back of the couch and gets up and strangles this guy from the back until he passes out. The idea being that when he wakes up and he sees the Scarface doll sitting in front of him, he'll think it's Scarface did it. So this is what gets him to then try and convince the rest of the tenants that, oh, this doll is like, you know, supernatural. It's like it's giving his orders. Listen to it.
Yeah. It kind of was like reminiscent of like Annabelle or Chucky when they're just sitting at the door. And you're like, who the hell put this here? And then they end up in the house anyways. But with this place, it's actually Wesker. Yeah. Right? There's a reason
and
for here. But yeah, him under the couch and then the panel underneath where he's sliding out. You're just like, oh, this is the creepiest Wesker's ever been.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good stuff. The art is fantastic there. And then, you know, this idea that she keeps doing the voice, you know, around her boyfriend. But she does cut out Wesker's tongue because Wesker at a certain point says, this is going too far. Maybe we should just leave. And because that's now trying to convince her to leave her apartment, which is the one thing she's determined to keep, she retaliated. So, anyway, so back to the present day stuff. She starts a fire. She's like, hey, well, if I can't keep my apartment, then all of this is going. So the entire tower ends up in fire. They make a point of saying, oh, because of this old building design, it just spreads fire too quick. It goes up like a chimney. And Batman goes looking for people to save, civilians. He's got like heat vision goggles on. And luckily, he does encounter the policewoman who was stabbed and is like struggling to like find her way through things. The interesting part, though, is that after he gets her out and he's talking to Gordon about it, he says that she claims that she could hear her partner's voice guide her through the fire. And they're like, oh, that's probably just hallucinations from the carbon monoxide, like, right? He's like, yeah, probably. But it's just kind of leaving open this idea that there is something to like hearing voices in this building that's kind of cool.
Yeah, just leave it with a little twinge of supernatural, right?
Just a little,
and like there was something.
Yeah, a little open possibility. Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, there was something about this building that spoke to people, whether it was Officer Price or Wesker or the lady.
Because after all, and as pointed out, Wesker grew up here. Who's to say he didn't develop his Scarface like abilities or ideas from this building? Who's to say?
And so, and so it just ends, and they're looking up, and there's like in the plume of smoke, there's a Scarface image.
Yes, it's Wesker.
And it's just like, oh.
Yeah, Wesker's looking up at it. Yeah. Yeah, that looks good.
Oof, really? So good.
It adds a lot of aura to Scarface that I don't think he had before. It feels a bit more like a bigger deal after this in some ways.
Yeah, and again, this has happened with like Clayface and with Croc and all these other characters that tend to be more on the B list of the rogues, right? For Batman. So I like when we get these little tweaks that make them stand out a little bit, and we can go from there. And like Dan Waters has been doing, like we had the last guy, what was he, the Impaled Man or whatever he was, and that was all brand new and really cool. And now he's come and done that kind of, let's make Scarface a little bit creepier and let's dig into Wesker a bit and develop his character. So,
he's not been a big part of this arc, but the creepy coroner's still here at the end, so he's still a factor. Just to keep that going.
I like that. I like the Batman standing in the corner because he knows he smells like formaldehyde because that dude's huffing that stuff.
Yeah, and as they're having this conversation about the voices that the cop lady said she heard, they're like, yeah, that's all it was. That's all it could have been, was just the monoxide inhalation. And you get that final panel, which is looking at the building now. The fire's out, but there's still smoke coming from it. And there's just one light on in that one apartment, which is presumably where that woman and her husband lived. And it's just a little, like, just eerie little moment of like, is there still something there? Is there still something there that led to all this?
Well, yeah, because she was never found. They never found her body, so she set the fire. And they presumed it perished, but they never found her. So, like, is there another Scarface running around now? Who knows? And we close this case book, and now we get to go into, what do I call it, pareidolia? But you know what pareidolia is, Pete?
I can't say I do. What's a pareidolia?
So that is the process of humans seeing faces and things that aren't faces, right? So you look at a tree, and the way that the knots go together, and you see a face. And it evolved from us knowing, being able to scan things for danger. So, right, if there was another group of people that might be dangerous, it's good for us to be able to realize that. But yeah, so like when you look at things and you see a face that's out there, it's called pareidolia.
That is interesting because I feel like Dan Waters could do some creepy stuff with that. So I'm certainly not mad at the suggestion. So cool.
No. So yeah. So definitely, and I know the person that asked isn't listening yet because they're not probably caught up, but Dark Patterns, definitely a book that everybody should be reading. Like, stop sleeping on this one. So let's get on it.
Yep, excellent stuff. So that is Batman Dark Patterns. What are you giving it?
I'm giving this a 9.
I agree. It's fantastic. It's been showing how to do it recently. So yep, 9 out of 10. Which leads on to my Patreon book. Every month, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. One of the higher tiers, you can make me read a book. American Vampire 1976 issue 8, I believe, is this one. Although I'm always a little hesitant on the numbers here because I don't see them. Like they're not on the cover in the collection. So I'm just sort of putting the number up one and hoping for the best. But I think this is it because I think I had 3 left. And then 9 and 10 obviously are coming still, so I think that's where we are. And I was a little down in the last few issues. The reveal of Book being a villain, I wasn't super feeling. There was like an anthology issue last time that was just a bunch of filler, if I'm honest. So this issue gets back to the main thrust of things, and we're kind of building up to the end game here. And yeah, I'm kind of mixed. Like I don't know what to feel. Like I get what they're going for in a lot of ways. This issue
is Pearl still gone? That wasn't a fake out? That's something that's had lasting consequences?
I mean, Pearl's here. Did I say Pearl was gone?
Okay. I thought maybe in another issue, because I didn't hear you talk about her much. And so I was like, wait, is Pearl not there? But no, Pearl is still there.
Yeah. I mean, this issue starts with her and Skinner waking up on the giant skull near the caves where the whole double cross with Book happened. So he wakes her up, and all the narration in this is all Skinner kind of talking about, like, when he was younger and how he would think about his death and his life flashing before his eyes, and how he was looking forward to that because he thought he lived a pretty fun life. But then once he became a vampire and he thought about his life flashing before his eyes, there's this really cool panel actually where you see like a bunch of different lives that he could have led. Where one he's like an old-timey gangster, one he's, a cowboy, one he's like a military officer. And it's kind of this idea that he maybe started to have regrets that maybe, all these paths that I didn't take that I could have. But when he wakes up after, like, him and Pearl have been rescued by the Signal Man. If you don't remember who the Signal Man is, the Signal Man was basically this Elvis dude who would put out messages to the VMs in his music in code.
Oh, sweet.
So he's got like a yacht here, and he wakes up on the yacht, and he talks about all these gold records he's got because he put out some Christmas albums, so he's filthy rich, blah, 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 blah. And there's a conversation between Skinner and Pearl where Pearl is still sort of trying to figure out a way to like ultimately win, right? How can we still do this? And she's like, hey, maybe, like, as far as we know, when the beast takes human form, which is what it's trying to do, so they've got Mimita, right? Books kidnap Mimita, and they're going to use her as a host for the beast. When he becomes human, as soon as that happens, there is like maybe a moment before it's completely done where the beast will be vulnerable. Whereas Skinner's basically like, hey, this thing's in cycles. After, a couple of centuries of like feasting on people, it has to go back to sleep. So why don't we just go find the VM bunker and wait it out? Let's just let the world go to shit. We'll just wait it out and we'll come back out in a couple of 100 years and everything will be fine. And of course Pearl's not up for that. And it's a whole thing. So yeah, it all kind of boils down to though, that he's not really game for this. And kind of the crux of this issue is like Skinner giving up and saying he's just going to go hide and let all this happen. And ending on the note of like, but is he going to change his mind? Like, the assumption I would have here is that there's going to be a heroic moment in the last couple of issues where Skinner does show up to help, where he shows up and helps save the day, probably dies in the process because, we're at the end of the story at this point, so he can have a death. That's the big thing it's doing. In fact, when Pearl tries to like talk him into not doing it, and she even kisses him and says thank you for something, he's like, no, F you, this is a stupid idea, we're not going to do that, I'm leaving. Like, this is stupid, like, I wish I'd never made you a vampire. Like, he gets kind of petty about it. It's, childish. Also, something else they're doing here, in order to maybe hopefully like get an army of the regular vampires, the Carpathians, Travis has taken blood out of Dracula's head and injected himself with it. The hope is that when he wakes up, he'll be able to control the vampires like Dracula could. So we're in like last ditch efforts here to try and solve everything. And I've got to be honest, this is all kind of wacky, and I'm not like saying I'm not amused by it, but I don't know if I like it as like story developments. It kind of just feels like a bit random and like, oh, we'll see if this works. And Skinner, so of course, says, but what if he just wakes up as an evil vampire because he's turned himself? And like, yeah, we don't know what to do about that if that's what happens. We'll just have to hope for the best. Like, okay. So that's most of their side of stuff. The other side of things is we see Book take Mimita to the Beast and the Grey Trader, and they do a whole thing here where the Grey Trader is talking as both Book's mum and dad, where like it's their voices that are coming out. If it's in red, it's the dad, and if it's in purple, it's the mum, I think. And like it's all coming from him. And they're talking about how they've got their vampires at Hoover Dam, and something to do with that's going to help them rise up and take over the world. So it's like, okay, he's taunting Mimita and saying that this is going to be very painful, becoming the host, and whatever else. However, when the Beast goes to like feast on her to like do the thing, like his big teeth, like, and they are here as good, like the big like. The teeth that just basically surround this big open cavern in the underground does look quite cool. But she gets impaled in the teeth, and then she's like, that's right, feed. And the beast kind of like lets go of her. And it turns out she injected herself with something so that she would be bad for the beast. I don't know if they overly explained what this could have been, but they just kind of... Because they point out that they don't have the magic thing they were looking for, the MacGuffin they were looking for last issue. Well, not last issue, because that was the anthology, but the one before that. They were looking for the devil's, or the God's Light, or whatever it was called, that was going to like help them take down the beast, which they do not have. But basically, they're like, okay, I guess we'll just kill her then. And if you remember, one of the plot points back in that issue was that Book, in theory, because he's part of the same family line, would also be a suitable person to do all this stuff. So immediately the Grey Trader turns around and says, okay, it's going to have to be you, Book. And he's like, me? And obviously there's a little bit of a comeuppance here because he was taunting Mimita and saying how horrible it would be. But the Grey Trader starts talking as his parents again. And he's like, oh, it'll be an honor. And he puts his head down, he bears it, and he's like, yes, I'll do it for the beast. Yada, yada, yada. Meanwhile, we go and see Felicia, who's actually snuck into Bixby's place. Bixby, who of course turned his back on the VMs and is currently working at the White House. She injects him, and when he wakes up, he's dangling over a bath full of, what was it? Saturated saline solution, which would be the equivalent of hydraulic acid to anyone who's sucked from the beast. So basically a tub of acid. and she's going to dangle him over it until she gets what she wants. But he's trying to claim that he just wanted revenge on Skinner, and he wasn't going to actually like stay aligned with the bad guys. But obviously, he got kind of stuck into it afterwards. He was kind of sort of like just stuck with them. Obviously, she's not really buying that. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I mean, regardless, like it's setting up all this stuff. Skinner's off on his motorbike. He took Elvis's favorite motorbike, the one that he specifically asked him not to take. But there's a creepy bit though when it goes back to Felicia. It turns out she wants the nuclear football codes, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll give them to you. They're on my desk. Like, go get them." And I'm like, "Really? You just got a bit of paper? That seems a bit bad for security." But she puts on this mask that kind of like looks a lot like him. And it's like a really good bit of art, actually, because it's really creepy and looks kind of off. But yeah, she's like, instead, you just slip deeper and deeper until you look in that mirror and you see something that doesn't look like someone brand new. And it's kind of like her, like I think she's going to go undercover as him, I presume, to go and do something with the nuclear launch codes. But yeah, so yeah, Book's being impaled with the beast teeth. And we see like a montage around the world where the red blood veins are coming up underground like a family's house. We see a hand coming out the ground. We see vampires climbing up the side of like an apartment building in a city. And it's like, yes, our Lord has returned. Everything's happening. There's earthquakes happening like around, wherever, especially near the Hoover Dam in Nevada. Like all that stuff's going off. And the end of the issue is just Book going into the shelter, where potentially he might just wait out and not go back to help. But I assume, yeah, he's going to come back and help. That's going to be the big save the day moment. It's going to be his redemption as a character. He's going to do something good, just purely good by the time he's done, which is fine. Like I get why they're doing this, and I think it's a good moment to have for a character who has been this shades of grey, kind of an asshole at times, kind of arguably started off as a villain way back in the day before he was more of an anti-hero, but it feels like there's not a lot of other interesting things going on getting into these final two issues other than just the evil's like taking power, it's at full strength, and everyone's going to do one last ditch effort to try and stop it. That's fine, but the solutions they're coming up with just feel kind of, I don't know, like injecting himself with the Dracula blood for Travis. It feels like the storylines were much more like well thought out back in the day. It definitely feels like there's been some cool creepy horror stuff since Second Cycle, but I don't think the overall storytelling has been quite as good. And I think it's reared its head here in the last part of it, just because, it was fine when we focused on something else earlier on and just had like a good time with whatever that idea was, because it was like, oh hey, we're not at the end yet, we're still building things. But now that we're only there's literally only 2 issues left, and I feel like the build up to this, like taking on the beast, taking on effectively evil incarnate, just doesn't feel like it's hit quite the way it should have. But I mean that book twist was really the big thing that sullied things. And then Mamete just like, oh, I'm poisoned to the beast now. Again, just so many things just kind of feel a little bit rushed, or the ideas came out of nowhere. Like this idea of just like taking Dracula's blood and hoping that'll give you the same powers as Dracula just feels like it's just been thrown against the wall here, right at the very end. And I'm sure we'll get something from it. We'll see like an army of vampires fighting on the side of the good guys, probably. I assume we're going to get that moment, but I don't know. Like, definitely the ending of this is the weakest it's ever been, which is a real shame, because you'd like it to end on a strong note. But that's what it is. There are some nice moments in the art, which I pointed out as I went through there. So it's not all, bad or anything, and there's still some ideas to like, but it felt like the book was at its best when it was integrating vampires into real life or into history. And whenever it did that, it felt like Snyder was clicking, like, just on every level. It was like, okay, this is the cool idea here of, like, inserting vampire mythology into real history. But I feel like this last chunk, it feels like, well, we can't rely on that anymore. Even though we're still set in the past, obviously, we're still in the 70s, but it doesn't feel, it feels like now we're just doing a big sort of typical end of the world fight, like something you'd get at the end of a Buffy season, but just not as compelling because it's not built to it in quite the same way. Anyway, that's my feelings. This issue's probably like a 6 overall, I would say. Well, not terrible, but certainly enough things in it that I just feel like aren't clicking for me that it is a little underwhelming. But there you go. That's my thoughts on American Vampire second cycle, issue 8. So that'll take us out to the final part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel / moment, favorite cover, favorite art, top 5 books, all that stuff. Matt, what's your moment of the week?
All right. So there was some in Batman or Absolute Batman that I really loved. I loved the matches scene, right? When they get the reveal. It's the reason that they're all doing this and they come out of the silhouette. That was really cool. Quite a fan of the imposter Supergirl. I thought that reveal was a lot of fun at the end. She comes down and says, what are you talking about? I'm Linda. However, it's going to be that scene from Batman Dark Patterns where him and Wesker are going through the inner part of the towers, and it kind of gave me a little bit of vertigo looking at it. That was Hayden Sherman working at his best. So that's mine.
Yeah, for me, what am I picking? Yeah, there's definitely a couple of Dark Pattern moments that kind of stick out. I mean, even Batman and Robin, I think there's a couple the opera stuff with the fire and like that entire sort of set piece. I really like that, but yeah, it probably is Dark Patterns. Yeah, I may even go with the ending, or specifically like just that idea of like Wesker looking up and seeing Scarface kind of form in the smoke of the fire.
Yeah.
It's because it's a nice callback to when the building looked like him, but now it's the fire that looks like him. It's like a nice like thematic, repeat.
He's always there no matter what, right? Yeah. Whether it's the building, it's the smoke. Scarface will always be with Wesker.
For sure. So cool. As for cover of the week, regular Supergirl cover's fun. I wouldn't pick it as my favorite, but it is just a nice, simple, on white kind of, bubbly cover. So I like that. I also, I'm picking between two here ultimately, and I'm just deciding they're both horror themed. Okay. My runner-up will be the Ashley Wood variant for Dark Patterns, which is this.
That's a good one.
Yeah, very old-timey Batman, sort of like on the sort of the cream tan paper, looking at like a very industrial like Scarface in the building kind of art. Really, really cool. I am going to pick though the Brian Bolland variant for Absolute Batman, which is creepy Mr. Freeze looking like a horror movie, looking like Nosferatu, frankly.
Yeah, for sure. And that Boland's kind of perfect at that, right? Because you get that creepy vibes from his art, Really,
really dig it. All right, what's your cover of the week?
All right, there's a David Tulaski variant for Superman that looks like a Norman Rockwell kind of vibe, where it's got Lois sitting at the desk, and it looks like Superman's come in, and everything's being, blown about, or he's leaving, right? So there's the tie, his glasses.
I'm assuming you mean Action Comics when you say that.
Action, yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Action Comics. So I like that one. But my pick's gonna be from Supergirl, and I don't know if you looked at all of the Supergirl variants, Pete, but there's one artist in particular that the cover has nothing to do with anything in the book. But as stated earlier in the show, I am a big fan of Bilquis Evely. And there's a Bilquis Evely Supergirl cover, and that's just gonna have to be mine. That's my pick. That said, the Villalobos one was also pretty good. It's got her Kara surrounded by like debris, and there's a really fun light effect coming off of her or from behind her. But yeah, it's gonna be the Evely because I'm a self-parody.
There's also an Art Germ one, which I feel like Art Germ's made a career over doing Supergirl covers at this point, like because he was doing variants for all the last couple of books that she had as well.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Okay, what's your art of the week?
All right, so the art's gonna. It really comes down to Batman and Robin and Batman Dark Patterns. And I think for this week, usually I give it to Hayden Sherman, right? Hayden Sherman does really good work.
Mm-hmm.
However, I really love Fernández and Giandomenico, the combination for Batman and Robin this time around. And that's who I'm going to give it to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I mean, I think the art in Green Lantern Corps solid. I quite like the art in Supergirl, by and large as well. Absolute Batman had solid art, but I think it is between those two Bat books. Actually, I'm going to agree. I think the art in Dark Patterns was great. Lots of good moments. I think I really like some of the big moments in Batman and Robin. So I'm going to just eke it out to that as well. So, all right, what is your top 5 books of the week?
Oh, here we go. I got Batman Dark Patterns 1, Batman and Robin 2. I'm trying to remember my rankings. I got Absolute Batman 3. I got Supergirl 4 and Green Lantern Corps 5.
I suspect it'll be the similar books, just in a slightly different order, maybe. Yeah, number 1's Dark Patterns. Number 2... yeah, Batman and Robin. Number 3, I'll go Supergirl. 4, I'll go Green Lantern Corps. 5, Absolute Batman. Yeah. But to be fair though, I think like 4 of those I give an 8, so they're all pretty close. Yeah, I was surprised at how solid the week was across the board. You know, action notwithstanding, and Aquaman, obviously, yeah.
But the ones that I enjoyed, I like thoroughly enjoyed, and I was very surprised by Supergirl. So I wasn't expecting it to enjoy it as much as I did. So. All
right, well, I'll tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. We have Detective Comics 1097. We have Nightwing 126. We have Absolute Flash issue 3. We have World's Finest 39. We got Wonder Woman 21, which unfortunately we're still doing the fill-in story on that, I think. And then we got Batman and Robin Year 1 issue 7, so we got that back. It's been a couple of months, that's nice. We have Titans 23. We have The New Gods issue 6. There's Zatanna issue 4. Catwoman 76. And then, notably, Superman Unlimited issue 1, which obviously people haven't added to the pool yet, which is why it's last on the regular books.
Yes.
But yeah, so we got a big new issue 1 next week and some kind of big favorites as well. So it should be cool. Plus, there's also a DC Sonic the Hedgehog issue 3 if you're interested in such a thing. But that is what's coming next week. So that brings an end to the show, pretty much. Thank you for joining us. You can, of course, support the podcast and all of the other shows that I'm a part of over MailFuzz Movies and MailFuzz TV over at Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Helps keep everything coming. Any support from any direction is greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for doing so. But yeah, that is pretty much us. So yeah, we'll see you next week. Same time, pretty much. No weird schedule changes for at least another month or 2, I think. So thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.